Exterminate, exterminate!
Elvish, Na'vi, and Klingon. Yells winter is coming at Comic-Con, while keeping Hal Jordan's ring on. That's me. I'm a nerd. That's me. A super legitimate nerd.
Whenever I was younger, I used to have dreams that Trini, the yellow Power Ranger, would come to my bedside and teach me karate. I was 17 years old.
I'm not fooled by your LASIK. They're not fooled by my LASIK. Nobody's fooled by our LASIK. It's true. We are nerds, frack you. We're super legitimate nerds. Our attention to detail is absurd. Shazam! Excelsior.
And a great way to start the podcast with my favorite song off of their album, Afterbirth Monkey's A Man Dies Defecating a Drinking Game, Nerd Him. Obviously,
that is wordy.
It is wordy. Our guests, of course, this week, if you haven't checked the preview from last week, is Afterbirth Monkey, Charles Stunning, and Mark Turner.
Hi,
Yay.
Internet.
By wordy, you mean a mouthful.
Mouthful.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah, I do.
Mouthful.
Welcome to the Crash Course podcast, guys.
Thanks for having us
Yay.
here. We're
so
excited.
Really glad that you guys were able to join us. I know that you guys... I want to talk a little bit about the variety show you guys started recently. At the top of the show, do a little promotion. Didn't you guys...
Okay.
You started a variety show, I forget the venue.
Yeah, it's at Rapture Lounge in
Rapture
Queens. The idea was just to try to open up the genre of the variety show and the open mics and that sort of music scene that's in Astoria to actors and singers, like musical theater singers as well, because that's 90% of what's in there, and I don't know, it's kind of what a lot of my friends started out with, and what both of us kind of came to New York to do, and then you have to find these other avenues, because theater is such a hard thing to break into.
Where are you two originally from?
I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
I am
There was
from...
a delay there. A little bit of shame involved.
Wait, oh no,
No, I'm really
I just didn't
ashamed
know
of it.
what turn we should go in. I was born and raised in a little town called Evansville in the state of Indiana.
Oh, yes.
Cornfields, rednecks, cows.
I'll pretend I know that place other than the name on a map. But I'm good at maps. so
Don't
I
go
at
to
least know that.
Evansville Internet ever. Sorry, Mom.
They filmed a League of Their Own there, and she was in it.
Was an extra in a League of Their Own.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I did not know
What?
that.
She was a Rockford Peach.
Yeah, I was a little tiny little Rockford Peach. They put my hair in pigtails and put me in a little Rockford Peaches uniform. I sat in the crowd and watched a fake baseball game happen.
Everybody pause. Go check that out. Come back.
I mean, you won't see me.
She's a blurry little.
I'm like a little
peach
blurry
blonde.
dot, and you can see like my mom's blurry little dot hat. Like,
Okay, so it'll be like a Where's Waldo experiment.
Yeah,
I still
yeah,
encourage
find
audience to do
Mama
that.
stunning in
And
a
hey-
League of Their Own.
Hey, and
Sparkle.
actually, it's in HD now, so you might actually be able to see her.
Yeah.
The most important thing that I learned from doing that movie, because I did a movie, was I learned how to twiddle my thumbs, guys.
Ooh.
Little 5-year-old me learned how to twiddle thumbs. Don't do the math on that. I'm not even sure if I was 5. I was probably 8.
I know
Cat's out of
snapping
the bag now,
is the
Chuck.
kind of thing you learn. Whistling is the kind of thing you learn. I never really thought about twiddling your thumbs.
Twiddling your
Yeah.
thumbs.
Talent.
Yeah.
It's
I feel
hours and hours of entertainment.
Yeah.
See, look, you can't do it.
John's
He's trying,
to,
you guys-
John's trying to do it. He's
To explain
it's wonky. It's really,
It's-
it's not going to get you.
Nothing's
5
more-
stars.
No,
I'm sorry.
That sounds like
No,
a-
I'm
that's
sorry you
gonna give
can't
me a
see
headache.
this,
It's
but I
very
got mad
frustrating.
twiddling skills.
This
my-
is the
it's like a-
greatest thing for audio
it's like-
ever.
I was just gonna
Really,
say.
we could not have come up with a better
You're gonna
audio
start a
visual.
tornado with those.
Oh no,
twiddling
it's a
thumbs.
party
Be careful,
now.
guys.
It's a
It's
party,
a twiddle
guys.
party.
Be careful.
Guys, you're missing out. It's 3 p.m. Memorial Day. We're having thumb twiddles like by the yard full.
That made my wrist feel funny.
Yeah. Ugh.
It's weird, right?
Yeah, it's weird.
You can burn a lot of calories twiddling thumbs, everybody.
Good to know.
I'm gonna stop doing that.
I
'cause
feel
my wrist-
fitter already.
Before we get into the album review, I also wanted to talk, because Chuck was at this as well, and we talked about it on the podcast back in January when Nelson was on, or earlier. Nelson Lugo's one-man show, Gathering the
Magic.
finally came out. He actually just recently released at the theater he did it at, offered him a deal to do it more frequently and a continued run, which is very
that's
exciting.
awesome. That's really awesome.
And so me and Chuck both saw it on Saturday, and it was a lot of fun. It was really great.
I cried with pride. Not gonna lie, it happened. I had my hanky. I was ready.
He did some unique tricks that I had not really seen before. One, using comic books, which I knew the punchline of that act,
Oh my gosh!
but it was still really good. He prefaced the act as everyone loves on the schoolyard arguing which superhero would be which. So he had 6 comic books, different heroes, and they put them on a board, the comic book facing the board, so you couldn't see what was what. And him and an assistant removed them one comic at a time until it became just one left, and then he guessed what was left. But they were shuffled and everything, so he couldn't see. And then he had given someone else an envelope at the beginning of the act which had the same exact comic in it, and it was all random. So
It was really cool. A really interesting personal note about that trick. That was the first trick I ever saw Nelson Lugo do at an Epic Win show, and I was the comic person. And in the end, I got a Batman comic, and I knew from then on that I was going to be friends with Nelson Lugo.
Aww.
Because he gave me a Batman comic. Don't be listening to this, Lugo. It's really embarrassing.
I'm gonna play music like in the background right over that. It'll be really sweet.
Yeah, it's
Like
something
the
really
Lonely
sweet.
Man
Piano
suite from
music.
like Hulk or something.
Yeah.
No, Homeward Bound. There's a lot of good parts of that soundtrack
Yes.
for that. Yeah.
So I guess it would be redundant at this point to reference episode 72, in which we had Nelson Lugo on talking about the show, since now people can just go see the show.
And what was the first episode we had him on?
Episode 19.
Where before we let the guests pick the album. That
Yes,
was
when
back
we
when we
did.
just picked albums and they chimed
Flying
in on it.
Lotus until the
And
quiet.
Yeah, I
Cord
still-
Nelson was not happy about that.
I was happy. I actually missed that episode.
He
I
was
was
sick.
happy I was not subjugated to that album.
The only time anyone has ever been absent was that day.
That day, yeah, and Nelson claimed that he killed John and replaced him, but then
Yeah.
John was back the following week.
Well, Lugo's
He
a
got better.
magician.
That's
Yeah.
true. He might have unkilled him.
Maybe he's actually a sorcerer.
Oh, also, Nelson Lugo
fucking
does
wizard.
card tricks with magic cards instead of actual decks of cards.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do
Because-
card tricks. He does tricks with cards.
Because
There is a
magic's
difference.
in the name. I get it.
He's a clever dude.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He's a clever dude.
I'm really proud of you, Lugo.
Well, this is
Me too.
This is quite a Nelson fest we just had right here. We really love him.
Don't worry, I'll get.
Yeah, we do. He brought on Mark
Really
III.
cool.
Don't worry, I'll get to Shave of the Dark Lord later. Make it full circle.
Oh
Can
boy.
we not?
Uh-oh.
I'm just kidding. I love Chauffeur too.
Oh, and that's the other thing I want to mention. Charles is now the 3rd host of the Epic Podcast.
The other host.
The other host.
Yeah. What's really crazy is that podcast is dropping the same day as this one. So anybody who's listening to this, why not go to nerdyshow.com and listen to more of me talk about bullshit. Make it a Charles Stunning day.
Well,
Stunning. Yeah, I went there. I shouldn't have.
Yeah,
great.
it was good.
you
I-
should've
That is a
done
really good
I'm glad You
tagline.
went there.
Oh, actually, someone tried to give me the tagline, set phasers to stunning.
I don't mind that. I like that. It's nerdy and
Fits,
awesome.
fits the nerd better, but I don't
Yeah.
think it has the same potential as
Yeah.
have a Charles Stunning day.
I mean, it's not as good as the sexiest ankles in burlesque, so.
That's true.
Yeah, well,
Oh.
You know, that's important.
You need ankles.
Should have
If you
professional
don't have
ankle
ankles-
photography is the question. I know, like, for the 19th century, that'd be really, really racy, but hey.
I bet there would probably be a weird niche for that, actually. I know of a
Ooh,
lot of
see
strange
ankles.
fetishes.
You should really bank on that niche.
I want to see your
Yeah.
ankles.
Get it.
Show me your ankles.
Show me your ankles.
honestly,
Give
that's
me your
probably not a
ankles.
very weird fetish.
Well, I'm
They're
saying is back in the
weirder.
19th
I think
century,
we
that
just
wasn't just
discovered
a,
his
that was
fetish,
like
guys.
the
He's getting
fetish.
uncomfortable.
John's
No,
getting a little
no.
uncomfortable.
Like there are dark.
Are you a
parts of the
holdover
internet.
from the 19th century?
Yes.
You kept that ankle
Yes.
thing going? What
Um,
do you look for? Like no
We're not-
moles, no bumps, no calluses, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
A solid
A,
ankle.
a supple.
Like a
Alright.
slender,
A supple-
solid.
Not like a bird ankle, but or a cankle. Like you gotta get right in between.
There's got to be like a little bit of definition, you
A
know.
solid,
like-
Yeah,
supple
definitely.
ankle.
Yeah.
I never thought that we would discuss for a solid 5 minutes about the types of ankles people prefer. But I'm
Once
glad
again,
we did.
Once again, he's
that's
going,
a spur,
we're doing
a
this
spur
many.
podcast.
Yeah.
We'll make that like 95A. Or something.
There you go. So I want to get to the Katy Perry album, or Katy Perry.
Katy Perry.
What made you guys choose this album besides the hilarity potential?
Well, when Mark and I first became Afterbirth Monkey, a lot of the ways that Mark would explain concepts he had for staging our music was, have you ever seen Katy Perry's documentary? Because in it she does this, and I think we could do something like that. And we've been a band for 2 years now, and I still haven't seen that Katy Perry documentary.
Oh,
I still
no.
haven't. I know. I probably will never watch it. I'm really sorry. It's become too much of a thing for it to be a thing now. So.
I think
But
I think she's a very good showman.
Yeah, there's a lot
Showwoman.
of. She can be a
Spectacle.
showman.
That's wordy too.
Show-
Spectacle alone.
According
is
to her birthday video, she can also be a showman.
Precisely.
Yeah.
She did do both. She was a
Yes.
showman and a showwoman.
She was on Funny or Die with the Teenage Dream music video.
Yeah, she's irreverent.
Last
and,
Friday Night is the video. That was the
and
one.
and oddly sexually charged.
Oh, yeah.
And
She's also not infamous.
she
for
sings
being-
about tacos at one point.
And you guys also sing
Yeah,
about tacos.
so there's a
Tacos?
lot of
Crossover
She
between
sings
odd
about-
similarities.
yeah.
So it seemed like a good choice.
Sex and tacos.
And the fact that this album in particular references other pop genres
Was.
and artists, and we sort of bank on that. Like, we do rap, we do funk, we do
Katy Perry is
acoustic-y.
also, she's like 29. Most people don't realize that because she looks so young. And I'm getting up there in age, guys. And she gives me hope that there's possibility for me to stand on stage with candies twirling on my boobs.
At age
When he says
60,
his boobs,
70
At
plus,
age
you know.
24,
he means
which
my
I am.
boobs.
Wow, a wee baby.
So, needless to say, there's this
Oh,
sort of
I'm younger than
understated,
that.
unironic attempt at not emulation, but at least reference to Katy Perry's pantheon.
Yeah, I'll go for that.
Sure.
All right.
So, of course, the
Yay,
album...
Kinda
big
whipped
word.
that out.
Also,
Alright.
my niece just did a talent show, her very first talent show. She's 10 years old, and she sang Roar, and it was one of the best moments of my whole
Aw.
life.
Oh,
So-
my cousins did that too.
Yeah, so I mean, that was also like,
And we want to appeal to little girls like she does. That's a lie.
little girls, don't listen to our album.
No.
Please don't.
Don't.
So we have so far crossovers: sex, candy, and appealing to little girls. You
Sex,
might want to
candy,
kind of
tacos.
form that a little.
And appealing to girls.
Also,
Okay, do it-
catchiness.
I kissed a girl and I like it. That sounds like we're talking about little girls, and I don't like that.
That's the problem.
I don't like that.
The album we're talking about, of
Not
course, is Prism, Katy Perry's latest record.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess let's get right into the first track, which is the first single off the album, Roar. Which we Roar. No, Roar is the
Roar.
Schaefer the Dark Lord version where he raps over Katy Perry.
Which is
Yeah.
way better.
Way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is.
Way better.
Which is not a joke on dot .rar. So this
No.
is dot .roar?
No.
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 Well, way.
So this is the intro track to the record, though it could have probably been anywhere else on the record.
On the album, no, yeah.
Yeah, I-
Well, it's the big single, though. I mean, one of maybe the two big
Well,
singles.
they may
on
not
this-
have
on this
decided
album.
that it was the big single. Well, they might have decided before it went out.
Yeah,
I
they
guess.
definitely they released it as a single.
I think it also
they had
helps
to
to
have.
like call, like it's a call to arms. Like it calls people to be solid in themselves. Like
It's a pump-up
I've
song.
got the
Yeah.
eye of the
Even
tiger.
just its
Let's
purpose.
go,
No,
ladies.
not just uplifting. It's further than uplifting. It really is a pump yourself up kind of a moment.
I've
song.
got it.
It's not
That-
presumptuous, I think, for a pop album, like in the first track, to sort of go balls to the wall, all-out pop. The big single, probably one of the catchier or most memorable melodies on the entire album. Just put it up there, first track.
Yeah.
It would be presumptuous, I think, for anything other than pop, but for Katy Perry, that's not, like, it didn't faze me in the slightest to see this as the first track. So,
Yeah.
it was kind of a call to arms. I see it in that sense.
Yeah. What's really funny is I don't know how familiar you are with Sarah Bareilles' Brave.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
very familiar
But-
with that song.
Probably the only one here.
They're the exact same song.
Are they?
If you listen,
yes,
you can.
the chord structures are the same. Guys, secret. I'm doing a mashup of the two of them on my ukulele. Same song.
I'm excited.
Not kidding. It's
Wow.
gonna be ridiculous.
So this is another one of those axis of awesome four-chord crossovers where you
Yes.
find so much similarity that you might as well bank.
in actually the worst way, because it's literally like G, E minor, A minor, C, like those chords. Sarah Bareilles' song has a D in it, and that's the only difference.
Well, it was one of the things I noticed here, and one thing, when it came to the bass here, the bass stepped in, I was kind of okay with it, like just in terms of tone, but then once you step out of that, the actual chord changes going on, it just sort of went back and forth from B flat to C as a pivot, and then over to G. So it's just going between B flat major to G minor, and just that, major, relative, minor, it's been a little bit done for me in terms of just, like, those are the only two major chord changes in the entire track, which is why it sounded a little bit generic, just beyond it being a big pop single as the first track. It was those chord changes that did it in for me, personally.
Okay.
That's not what did it in for me.
What did
We
it in
got
for
more
you?
reasons.
I don't. You know what?
Actually, no,
I don't know
you're
how
right,
many
you're right.
O's.
That's like maybe
I
number
don't-
two. Number
yeah.
two, very, very close on the list.
And I know that the choice of the O's was because it's to represent the roars. Because roaring is hard. Going roar is a lot harder than O and can't be sung as easily.
But I don't know. I reconsider that. I don't think that was necessarily meant to be the roar right there. When you hear it, I don't hear it as roar. I don't hear it as anything necessarily.
No, it's that caller arm. It's that call. It's the call because it's.
It was
It-
like yodeling.
But a
roar.
call isn't,
Yeah.
isn't a roar.
Also,
per se.
it makes such a catchy hook.
Oh yeah.
But
You're
that's
like,
the whole thing.
It's like the dance.
Yeah.
Can't help it.
And it's
Maybe it's that I'm tired of, though. A lot of pops try.
Well,
They
yeah.
go back to the O's. I'm just tired of O's.
well, but also
It's,
Maybe
it's
Oz.
like it's more like a roar.
I think we need another decade of Oz just to switch it up.
I
Oh,
want the Cowardly Lion to sing roar.
the ra.
Yeah, if I had a rolled R in there, then I would have accepted it. Then I would have had it.
That
Yeah.
would have been.
That would have been a purr.
a nice little flair.
Would have been suggestive, though, and there are suggestive lyrics here.
yeah. Well,
Maybe get more
all over
suggestive.
this
She
album.
does-
There's not a
Go on.
single song that is not suggestive.
On this album,
Some of it's not even suggestive. It's
Some
just
of it is in
blatant.
your face.
Some of it is.
But when you think
That's
about, because I was trying to think about this, like if you think it is blatant in the fact that it's so obvious what the thing she's talking about means,
Yeah.
But she's also not singing my neck, my back, like my crack. You know what I mean? Like she's not saying it.
She's
No,
just
granted,
like-
that's actually what separates her from other artists. Is
Right?
That,
Yeah.
She's sort of
Miley-
highlighted as
like
being,
Miley
you know
Cyrus
what,
is
you at
like-
least turn it down for the sake of something that's released to the public and certainly to younger people. That's
Yeah.
her claim to to just a nice level where everyone's friendly to everyone. It's friendly to the old age people, which is funny because that's actually in the videos that are to come.
Yeah.
I mean, but my thing about Roar also is it fits the structure of a typical catchy Katy Perry song that I can't get out of my head. I mean, to me, I hear very much similarity to Hot and Cold and to I Kissed a Girl, and the fact that it's just a catchy hook, a good, catchy chorus,
Well-
basic beat.
An interesting fact about all of those songs is that they're essentially written by the same people.
Yeah.
Like once she hit that third album with Teenage Dream, she started using the same producers as Britney Spears, as NSYNC, as Pink, as Kesha.
Yeah.
All of those same guys are writing all those songs. So if we're wondering why the music all sounds the same, it's because they're all the same
I
writers.
did a strange double take when you told me that because on one hand, my instinct is to say that's really hard to believe. Wow, really what those few people control all of this music, and then really I think about the actual musical content. It's like that does sound like
Well,
the same
it's
person.
true. I mean,
It almost
the-
defends the fact
What
that
kind
pop
of-
sounds like the same because a lot of times it may very well be the same artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to know what those guys, because it's a bunch of dudes too. I want to know
Yeah.
what their lives are like.
That they're writing all
Faceless,
of these-
nameless, but the man behind the curtain, as it were.
Yeah,
Oh,
and-
I got an idea. I'll change this line and it's a new song.
It's a new song.
Yeah.
Well, it's the
Well,
same
Or
concept.
we're gonna add a harmony over that.
It's the
final
concept
chorus
that
there.
all of these
Oh, there
men
you go.
behind these female singers, like all of those men who are writing comics about women. It's the same idea. Like, what do they know from?
Is that
Yeah.
one of the reasons why visibly they're so hypersexual?
Is because
Yeah.
it's written by men. It could be that actually
Yeah.
that could be a big part of it. Actually,
But I want to meet these guys and like know that they're going out to the club and like drinking a bottle of Jack.
yeah,
They're the
And
ones
they're like,
doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
right?
wrote
Hitting
this
on dudes.
song.
They get to actually walk amongst the public because no one knows their name, their face. So
They've got
Yeah.
like their shirts pulled down too far and their thong hanging out.
that's terrifying, actually.
Speaking of the more suggestive songs, I guess this is a
Yeah.
good time to go into Legendary Lovers,
Oh man.
which sets a high bar. You imagine a Legendary Lover is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the
Suggestive
lovers
is not even the word
of
here.
lore.
Lotus Bloom.
Lotus Bloom, man.
These are it's almost every single style of euphemism possible in this one song. Mm-hmm. Gets really tropey about it. The thing is, I did like a little bit to it. The verses themselves really felt like they had heart. I didn't care what she was saying, but vocally it was emotional because of the toned down nature of the actual beat work.
All right,
the
well,
toned down nature of the music.
speaking of that, because considering we're stepping away from the last track, which is really kind of just like loud and in your face, yes, this was a lot more soft. It felt very spoken. Again, you could take or leave the lyrics themselves, but it was slow and it was soft. And this is important considering a later point that I'm about to make here. The first eyebrow raise for me was at the bridge, in which she was still singing. I mean, the background music was still very soft, but then she steps in with this sort of out of time, out of place triplets, really, really fast,
so
really
good.
intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
entire
love that.
bridge was
It
that.
feels good.
Yeah.
That song feels very good to my ears and to my body,
Yeah,
because I
particularly,
really love
Yeah.
those fast triplets, and then her head voice when she hits that. We could be legend. I love that.
Those,
I think
those are the two.
I love
just
that.
those are
like
the two
Those
key moments in the song.
Those are nice
those are nice
too.
too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just it feels like
It was a very sexualized song, and it feels very kind of.
yeah.
I feel like you're conveying some kind of liquid.
The only thing that took
Ugh.
us out
Fluid.
when
The choruses themselves are so dry, so simple, and I just couldn't get away from that.
Well, here's the thing. I was really, really liking the slow, soft tone that started out with the verses, and I kind of liked the juxtaposition when she stepped in there with the triplets, which were really, really fast, because I was feeling the tempo of the song really slow. It was a nice slow 4/4. So those triplets were really more like sextuplets to me, because there were 6 per individual beat.
Yeah.
And then when it steps in with the chorus, it was like double time. So it kind of took away that mystique of the slow and soft air that we got in the beginning, and therefore it didn't quite have the same effect when she would go back to those triplets later on, because now we're at double the tempo. Really the same tempo, but it's just you feel it quicker at this point. So yeah, I think if you had one thing going for this, it's that mystique of legendary lovers. Might as well stay slow and soft. I think that's where she had me. But then once, the chorus kind of stepped in really, really loud, it's just, and now you're back to where you were in the first track.
Yeah.
My
That's
problem.
pretty much how I felt about it too. Like the choruses just kind of bored me, but
Except for that one part.
right. Well,
the
well,
accent.
the
Yes.
pre-chorus. I love the pre-chorus and the verse. It's just the chorus itself. The key chorus was just not as good as everything else leading up to it. I liked the mix of it. I didn't mind the musicality of the song. I mean, it was nothing revolutionary, but I enjoyed it. Like Chuck said, it did have that kind of liquid sex kind of feel, kind of got you going, and I like that. I think that's really cool.
I also
There
sorry.
was the odd instrumental, which
Oh,
I
the
didn't
interlude.
think fit.
What I
that
liked
fit.
that the song itself, it traveled. It went to a completely different style of music than she's used to doing. It had a very tribal. It was Indian. It felt like.
I see. So
Yeah.
not traveling within itself, but
like
traveling for
regionally.
her
Like,
as
it went,
an artist. She went,
as a location. I felt like she went from the jungle in Roar to suddenly some place in India.
Ganges.
Well, I found it.
Like
I
Ganges,
found
'cause
it
she
pretty
says,
stable.
"Take me
throughout.
down to the river."
I found it stable throughout because the first. I mean, as soon as the song begins, I hear the sitar kind of
yeah,
opening it
exactly.
up. So the second they dropped into the instrumental later on, I was like, oh, perfect. That makes perfect
Yeah,
sense.
I agree with Steve. I
it
don't
was
think
pleasing.
the instrumental was out of place because of the sitar in the beginning. It was a kind of
Yeah,
a
so I already
for
heard it as this sort of exotic tale, which fits when you're going for something
Legendary.
legendary.
No,
yeah.
Like,
It's
might as well
the-
go exotic too.
The out of placeness is the instrumental itself.
I disagree.
Having an instrumental in there.
No.
That's
it's-
just a continuation of the setting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that maybe you were just expecting the song to go somewhere else, so it felt out of place to you.
Oh no, I kind of expected the song to stay exactly where it was. And the instrumental did take us someplace else. I don't think it added enough to be a part of it. Though.
It took us someplace else just in terms of having an instrumental period. I don't think there's
Exactly.
any other place in this album where we really get a full-on instrumental,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
pretty cool. It was actually a tabla breakdown. The tablas are those instruments that are they're like Indian set of drums, but they're really short. They have that deep tone to it. So you
Yeah.
just sort of tap your finger in the middle, and you get this sort of parabolic boom.
Yeah.
And the entire instrumental was using those tablas, and I love tablas.
And we don't oftentimes hear, you'll hear a drum solo that has several different pieces to the set. You don't usually hear, a tambourine solo. And that drum by itself was the only sound that had a good 20 seconds worth of song.
Yeah.
And the rhythm itself was interesting. We're used to hearing guitars that do riffs and stuff, so why can't we
So I
celebrate
guess for that reason, I'll give
the
John.
single drum?
I'll give John a point here. I guess it did kind of take me away from the generic pattern of verse chorus. We have an instrumental, and it's a pretty cool instrumental that I did not expect personally on a Katy Perry album. So yeah, it was positive. The last thing I want to say about this track is what Chuck started to say. There were really two moments, which I guess three moments now that we've thrown in the instrumental, that really made it for me. It's the triplets in the beginning, it's that instrumental there, and then it's also those little accents where she goes almost into her own falsetto in the chorus
It's
itself.
interesting. She's got a voice like a dude. Like she's got like she can belt loud, but there's no mid voice. She doesn't have the ability to sing in a mix. She almost hits into what I would say. Yeah, it's like a
I
falsetto.
felt that too, and I think it's also. I mean, it shows that I feel like maybe she can't do that on the same track. They were definitely two separate tracks that were superimposed there, just for that little accent.
Yeah.
The lyrics themselves, when she does that accent, are where was that? You should be, you could be. And it's just right there in the middle of the otherwise plain chorus melody there. But it's just this glorifying moment in the entire track that I kind of want more of. I wish she would do that throughout her tracks. I wish her falsetto was a more common thing, personally.
Yeah. It's nice to listen to, for sure.
Yeah. Now, moving on to something with a lot less substance. Birthday.
I love this
so
song.
good. It's
Yeah.
so
Love
good.
this song.
We have
Smarties.
different
It's Smarties,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's absolutely
It's that
candy.
it's
like candy's-
unnecessarily like you know it's bad for you, but you're like, you know what, I'm gonna have that third cupcake. It's
Yes.
fine. Don't judge me.
Alright, let's step
I
in.
actually have used this song as part of my playlist for Honey Badger Burlesque for like birthday shows and celebration shows because it
feels like a
so
celebration. It really does.
weird.
But it's a
It gets so
celebration
excited.
between two people.
Yeah.
It's not a celebration in the room. All the rest of this has been like these huge party songs. Like they are like about I guess maybe Legendary Lovers is about two people. So then they're both about sex.
Yeah, but they're
Yeah.
like gods, and this is like, I'm gonna make it feel like your birthday.
But that's very, very ironic, considering that actually the music itself becomes a little bit more general. It's a dance floor song.
Yeah.
So I see this as being something that is almost a little bit impersonal in that regard, and maybe there was just a little bit of clash there for me. You know, it's just a little problem, because if it is going to be personal, if it is going to be a birthday song, maybe it shouldn't have been disco, which is strange, because actually I was kind of liking the groove.
Yeah.
But it's just this disconnect that I can't quite reconcile.
Interesting.
You know.
Because it felt like the kind of song that, and not saying that I did this, but you would like put on and like dance around sexy for your boyfriend, which I might have done. I didn't do that.
Fair enough.
I might have done that.
And actually, when you think of the video here, have we discussed the video?
No, so...
Wait. Before we go on to the video, I do have a big gripe with this, and that is stays on the one big metaphor of birthday. And just repeats itself.
That's the name of the
But
song.
that's
No.
Not a metaphor.
No. The one metaphor of the birthday gift equaling
Well,
sex.
okay, yeah.
Oh,
That
yeah.
metaphor.
Yeah, big balloons.
Yeah.
But it's...
Well, but she gets to the big balloon. She's gonna take him out, guys.
Yeah, but it's... the metaphors themselves are so unimaginative.
Well, we were actually having a kind of not an argument. We don't argue. A conversation
argue. We
about
How
debate.
nice.
about what
That's what
do
we
you
said.
think the big balloons are? Everybody make a guess. Go for it.
Her boobs, obviously.
Yeah, we're gonna go with boobs.
Okay.
Final answer, think, maybe?
But before that, she says, "Let me get you in your birthday suit. It's time to bring out the big balloons." We think big old floppy balls.
Big old floppy balls.
Okay, so time to whip out that. Well, you know, I was
Big
thinking
old
that. I was
floppy
thinking that
balls.
just based on the amount of time
We're
she
gross,
said
so-
big.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
big. It seems like kind of
Yeah.
a build up, like the big reveal. Unzip,
Big
you know.
balls.
that
Yeah,
kind of
Big,
thing.
I mean,
the juicy balls.
It's six bigs.
That's
very- It's an odd direction to go in. Who
Yeah.
hones in on that when it comes to a blowjob?
On the balls.
Afterbirth Monkey. That's
Okay,
that's
fair
who
enough, fair
we-
enough.
If you're
that's
not
our
getting, you
brain.
gotta pay attention to the balls too,
It's
guys.
important.
Yeah, you
It's
gotta-
important,
Balls are
teacher.
excruciating
I mean, you guys
important.
will. We're just gonna turn here real quick. Yeah, you know, you gotta like.
Just like
gotta
touch them and
cup
like
'em a little.
you can do that thing with
They're
your
having-
pinky as
Ooh,
you're
yeah,
you
like,
like
ooh,
kind of
like-
pull them down and then
yeah,
you tickle that part
tickle
with
it
your
right in the
pinky.
middle. You know.
I wish there's a way I could like create a audio parenthetical for what you just did there.
We're just subtly referencing.
How to give a proper
That's
ball,
not-
blowjob.
no,
It's
it's
important.
really
No, it's like, no,
that-
you make a
proper
good point.
balls blowjob. He said
Proper
I like
balls
that.
job.
Yeah,
Balls-
proper
balls
balls
blob.
job.
A blob.
What I do like about the video,
Bulb.
though, so the video...
He's just moving on.
I am moving on.
I actually
The music
wanted to
video
continue
that
on
John told us actually existed was unique in the sense that it's Katy Perry jackassing a bunch of different parties being different characters.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
And
You
pretty
cannot
convincingly.
verb that word.
Of course I can. I just
Jackassing?
did.
Jackass? No, that gives credence to Johnny Knoxville.
truthfully, the internet gave credence to Johnny Knoxville.
The internet does a lot of things wrong.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
true.
I do not want to perpetuate that.
My point is though, it's a unique video in the sense that she's not being herself; she's being these other characters.
Can we say she Ollie G's them instead?
That's a little more
I'll take
acceptable.
that.
I liked him before he became famous, so.
I felt very Borat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the intentional trolling was, I mean, I get what she's going for, and there was some humor in it. She's playing these characters. And the video did seem a little tropey and kind of annoying until there's a moment where she's completely ruining a little girl's party.
Dressed as a princess.
Dressed as an obnoxious princess, but then towards the end of the video reveals that it's her, and all of the girls lose their shit.
They're so happy.
And they're so happy. And you know what?
One little girl screams so adorably.
And jumps.
Oh, man.
And it's like, as much as I think it's annoying when people, this kind of TV show trolling stuff, I hate reality TV to that extent, that was a very sweet moment, and I actually really appreciated that as an artist, giving your fans exactly what they wanted at that right moment when they're about to lose it.
Well, the key thing I want to hone in on here is obviously the fact that the video is split in two. It, on one hand, can be taken very plainly, very face value. It's a birthday present. You think of birthday presents as being for little kids and just making them happy and whatnot, in which case there's no innuendo whatsoever. It's just exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, you have this very gratuitous scene with giving the blowjob to the old guy in the nursing home.
Yeah.
So
What I think is interesting about that is that she took something. Seems to be like almost the exact opposite of what Miley Cyrus did with Wrecking Ball.
Yeah.
You guys know that song.
Yeah, sure.
When you listen to that song, it is not about being naked and swinging around on a wrecking ball, like at all in any way. There's not a single reference to her being naked and
that's
being
actually a
gratuitous
very
and sexual.
emotional
And she does that a lot. Like she puts out these songs that you can listen to and you don't walk away from learning horrible things. They're just catchy songs. But Katy Perry took something that is disgusting. Like, sex with people is wonderful, but it's like, it's raunchy, you know what I mean? And she then took it and stuck it over a little kid's birthday party, which you guys know that those little kids' moms are like, honey, let's watch your music video again. And now they're learning how to give proper ball blowjobs.
There you go.
I'm so
really
undecided
wraps it
on
up.
that.
She
totally
gentrified
sums
it.
up. Yeah.
She just gentrified it with that video.
Yeah.
I guess it could be said.
But
I mean,
we're not
also
rating
just the
on the
fact that
video here.
You can,
Yeah.
that's true. We're not rating on the video.
No.
Here. But I definitely think if you just take the lyrics, it's true that you could probably grow up with this song for that exact reason.
And then go back to it later and be like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I totally see that. And actually, I think that's kind of clever in a way. As bubblegum and candy as this song is, I like that idea that the lyrics have a double meaning.
It's the Ghostbusters paradox,
Ghostbusters paradox?
where you watch all the Ghostbusters movies as a kid,
And you're like,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And then you go, oh my god, Venkman's a date rapist. That is what happened when I grew up. I was like,
Oh, dear.
Why does he have that many tranquilizers to go on a date with this woman? He just happens to have them.
You know, I didn't
Think
get the
about it.
line for
satchel.
what's it called? You've got too many people inside of you for years.
Yeah.
Because the first time I saw it, I was like, I don't know, 6-ish.
Yeah.
So I grew
Yeah.
up thinking nothing dirty about movies.
Just that
like
she's got a lot of voices in her head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. Got a lot of other
Lots of
penises in other
Mommy,
places too, apparently.
Mommy, she said she wants him inside her. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, you don't
Yeah.
get that.
I don't want to see little girls running around going, let's take out the big balloons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Speaking of that, though,
Totally
I'm not sure if I'm done with the balls yet here.
No, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna agree.
See?
No, it's
Who's the
It's
lyricist
false.
here? Who's the lyricist here? I
You
concur.
guys, I think she's
concur with
talking
balls?
about...
You think it's balls?
I think
it's balls.
I think she's
Guys.
talking about the way that we like interpret birthdays and like how they can be really big,
And there's
like
an
tumultuous things that you have to
existential
overcome. And she's saying, let's get out the big deals here, the big issues, and let's communicate
Either
how to like,
that-
get us through this next year.
Or she may be doing one of
postmodernism, existentialism, yeah,
Precisely,
all of that.
guys.
Oh,
It's like what they're
Deconstruct it.
talking
yoga or
Deconstruct it.
Pilates. What's that big
this.
giant ball that you like work out on?
It could be that
Exercise
exercise
ball.
ball.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
get up because you're
Yeah.
turning 37.
You're
we
getting
should probably
closer
do
to
some
the
core
grave.
exercises.
Come
Things
on.
are starting
If
to
you don't
fall
wanna get-
down on you.
Like have,
No,
you have to
the
bring them
gravity
back
is
up.
working.
Yeah.
metaphysical, metatextual.
Yep.
72% of all
Buzzword.
ACL injuries are
So that
just trips
happened.
and falls, guys.
True. All right.
Track 4.
I'm not comfortable leaving it on that note, but all right.
Walking on air. So this song, I totally missed the sex metaphor in this initially. I don't know how I did, but I did until Mark pointed it out when we were listening to it.
Wait, it starts with the line, "You're giving me sweet, sweet ecstasy." Yeah, you take me to
Well,
Utopia.
he thought it was about drugs.
Yeah.
Which it very well could be.
I mean, it can
You
also
read
be a
me
thriller.
like
They could be a
erotica?
song...
Oh yeah.
Like,
Boy, you make me feel exotic. Yeah?
Maybe it could be more than I was listening
that's
to the
the
lyrics.
best rhyme.
That is the worst rhyme
She's like
because she
Stephen
doesn't say...
Sondheim with that one.
It's erotica, exotic,
You just insulted
yeah.
every musical theater nerd
Exotic,
listening.
oh,
like, what'd you say?
Oh my god.
She doesn't even try to rhyme it. She pronounces it the right way.
My favorite part about this song is the fact that it immediately references a 90s song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that song's
Oh.
Sweat.
It's just, I love that sound.
Is that song called Sweat? Come on and sweat. Yeah. Let the rhythm take control. Let the music move you. Is that called Sweat? 'Cause
I think so.
Every time I hear that song.
That's what you
Every
think.
time. Every time. I gotta
love
throw
that.
it out there. I feel like this album is all Katy Perry just references stuff. I'm like, oh, here's the 90s dance club thing.
More so than that, it's even like the brand of 90s that even back then felt like it never quite escaped the 80s.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I keep going back and forth with this track, but it's just that synth it's overbearing. It
It got
feels like it's
music has really gone so synthesized lately. Like we found the folk music again, like with
Yeah.
Mumford and Sons and things like that. And Sarah Bareilles plays the piano, but even she's converted to the
Yeah.
to the synths.
A lot of bands these days use technologies over actual instruments, and I'm annoyed by that. It's one of the reasons that we.
I still-
You gotta remember,
still-
it's
disclaimer here.
cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have to pay 70 people on a stage. They can program it all into a piano or stick it on a track, and suddenly there's...
granted, but here's the thing: I do think you can do, very, very complex, intricate stuff with the synthesizer.
Of
It's
course.
not. It's
Yeah.
not more. It's not so much that, but the choice of tone, the exact synth they went for here is just so indicative of that 80s, 90s, and we seem to be encountering that all over the place. So
Yeah.
whether modern music is really moving in the synthesized direction is kind of, that's here and there by now. It's of course it's been that way for 30 years. It's the fact that now it's specifically referencing 80s, 90s synth back when it was new and novel. Like that's an obsession now, and clearly Katy Perry's no exception to that, man.
Yeah.
There's not a ton of content in the song other than
Nope.
the sexual content.
this
There are
is-
40
and it gets
repetitions.
really- yeah,
There's 40
that's it.
repetition of walking on air.
It gets very
I
apparent that
I have
she's
to admit, if I were out dancing, this would be the song where if I drank too many vodka cranberries, I'd be like, oh my god, this is prophecy. We are walking on air. Because there's nothing to it to the point that you have to be really drunk for it to make any sense.
Just makes
Yeah,
no sense.
that definitely sounds accurate. Is there
Unless
anything
you-
on the music side, Steve, that you really want to say?
No, here's the, no. I actually want to take lyrics here because there was a point earlier on when you mentioned that you give me sweet, sweet ecstasy. That this is the moment following the euphoria of orgasm.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I quite buy that with the mix up here on a dance floor setting
Yeah.
again, throwing back to 80s, 90s groove.
But it
I feel
does
like
that-
this is more like a dance floor euphoria,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is kind of a euphoria if you imagine just being lost in the moment.
a
It's
lot
like-
of dance floors are euphemism for sex. Also,
Yeah,
dance.
granted,
Yeah.
but
Well, because I mean,
that's Katy Perry. She's not
dancing
going that
on a
far.
dance floor does not look like it did in the 20s.
No, definitely
There-
not.
there
It's
are-
very.
Actually,
Things
I would
touching.
argue that
Always
in the 20s,
things touching.
in the 20s, it was pretty racy actually.
Yeah.
I would
in
say
like a
not in the
Watusi
50s.
sense.
Yeah.
If doing the bee's knees.
Well, when you're doing the Charleston,
Yeah.
it's really sexy.
Anyway,
Spoiler.
I just
There will
think
be
it
a
was a
throwback
fairly
track.
repetitive track, and I
No, yeah, the
Well,
chorus.
let me-
not just
I
for the
love,
choruses
but I gotta
alone.
say, like, if you've ever been on a dance floor and you've ever had too many vodka cranberries, you know that moment when the music drops out and it just gives you that kind of ambient, like, and then it pumps right back into the song, and everybody's jumping and
Yeah, and
rubbing their
sweaty
things on
bodies
their
all
things.
over.
Like, it's the best.
Yeah,
Ooh.
it's fun. Like, this song is fun.
I brought vodka cranberries, guys, if you guys want to
Oh, sweet! All right,
make this
let's
thing
do it.
happen.
Should have
in the studio.
taken that offer earlier for that, especially for this track. But then again, I have one more thing to say here, and that's considering while we're talking about dance floor tropes, there was the thing with the bass, where I believe it was in the verses they withhold the bass, and then when the chorus it drops back again, and it felt like that Lonely Island song, like When Will the Bass Drop, which is a joke now because
Oh,
so
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
pop songs do that, or
Yeah.
at least dance floor oriented songs do that. So I do got to accept that there's got to be a little bit of self commentary here. I do think she's making a joke on it. It's just
Yeah.
so subtle because it still feels like it could be one of the pack. That's my only beef.
Yeah, it's hard to be ironic if people don't know you're being ironic.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a problem.
Or maybe that's the most ironic.
ironic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like hipster levels of
you
ironic. I think we should move on.
Don't you think?
So the next
That
track.
is not an ironic song. That is a coincidental song.
There's nothing ironic about
I don't
the
know
song
how to
ironic.
use the word irony. I cannot tell you
Rain
what
on
tense
your
to
wedding
use.
day is not ironic. It's
None of
just
it is.
sad.
It is
It's coincidental at best.
Yeah.
best.
Isn't it a coincidence? That's,
Isn't it?
That's it.
But that's a lot of syllables.
I know.
Yeah. We-
What?
Speaking of
well,
a
well,
lot
yeah,
of
speaking of a lot of
syllables
syllables.
in music,
The next track, Unconditionally.
unconditionally,
This
6
song makes me
syllables, guys.
crazy. She sings on the wrong syllable for the whole song, the whole
Which,
time.
do you remember which syllable it is? Unconditional.
Unconditional.
But that's a hard song.
Uh,
It's that un.
She emphasizes prepositions.
It makes me crazy.
Yeah, no, I get what
And
you're
she
saying.
does it so much throughout
It's the
all of her
prepositions.
music.
I told this
She
anecdote
doesn't
before.
emphasize the nouns, the verbs of her actual lyrics that would give emphasis to what's going on.
Well, but that's a hard word to sing on because it is in itself so emphasized.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Actually,
Like-
it's an odd one. I feel like that's the kind of thing like Caribbean. You
Yeah.
can get away with both
Yeah.
technically.
Tomato, tomato.
Yeah.
No, tomato
Potato,
song.
potato.
Let's call the whole thing.
I was
No,
gonna
guys,
go
let's just
into
tell this
this
whole
diatribe about Handel, but I told it to you before, so I guess it's not relevant here necessarily. It's just
Anyway.
important that it's odd, but then again, to a different ear, it could not be.
Yeah.
I have
About
to
it.
admit
Seems like an odd
that
point.
my ovaries betray me on this song to the point where I'm like, I love this song.
I do.
So-
I really do enjoy this song.
I love it
I-
so
I
This
much.
actually
You
is-
can sing it for
I don't know if I'm
hours
I
afterwards.
love it.
Yeah.
It's got
It's-
3 things going for it. One, it makes very little use of the electronica aspect of her music.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a much more acoustic approach to it, even though it's not
But
acoustic.
it's
but
got the synthesized backdrop, and actually, that's something that really did reach out to me because we're not talking an
It
80s
felt-
era thing. We're not talking 90s
it felt more
era
natural.
thing. I call it the David Siddick-esque backdrop. David Siddick is the guy that does the synth work on TV on the radio, and I feel like it's become kind of this thing for 2000s era songs to have this very ethereal backdrop. It sounds like wispy clouds and whatnot, and I feel that's kind of what she was going for here. So
And also-
I'm not hating on that, but it has been done before, but it's still positive.
But also that sound, the vastness of that sound, like giving that airiness with that effect, it lends to the idea of loving someone unconditionally. This
Yeah.
thing that nothing can change how you feel about
A
someone
way I would
is a huge message. Ginormous.
Yeah.
A way I would describe
Need
just
a
the
big
tone,
smoke.
though, is as if underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that feeling is lending to the emotion behind this song. That's, I think, also why I like it a lot, is emotionally it's very easy to connect with because of how it's breathy and it's big and it's like, this is a massive love I have.
Yeah.
That was the second point I was going to make. It's much more natural in the way she's singing. Very little synthesizer going on, very little auto-tune going on. You're getting a very natural voice, and that's conveying a lot more of the feeling of what's being sung. And that's number
Yeah.
3.
Fair enough.
The lyrics.
Fair enough. But
The
that's
lyrics.
but that's the verse. These are the verses. I gotta say, the second the chorus steps in, it's like another pop anthem, and it takes me away from that whole tone. And that's what I don't like about
Yeah,
this track.
well,
As much
well,
as the melody may be nice and whatnot,
the whole
the tone just kind of it flatlines again. It's the same flat line, loud,
Yeah.
just kind of forcing it down my throat.
But the choruses don't take up 90% of the song
Like
in
walking
this
on
case.
air. Yeah.
This is much more towards the verse
Yeah.
aspect.
I
There's
thought it was kinda
meaning
split.
behind. There's meaning behind the words, even
Yeah.
in the choruses. There's
Well,
there's a lot more depth to what's being sung
I-
here.
I
I'm
think
gonna say
there's-
it's split down the middle, but I do think that when it makes that shift, it's kind of I kind of want to throw up a bit. I just wanted to sit in the. I want this album to breathe a little bit at this point.
Really, I feel like that whenever she goes up into that upper voice in Unconditional,
Yeah.
I feel like a bird taking flight, and it feels like
Yeah.
she's soaring. I feel
Alright.
like she's suddenly breathing there. And what's I think is really
I'm with
interesting
you.
about the song is oftentimes you'll hear words like "I'm gonna love you forever,"
Yeah.
or "I'm gonna love you till I die." I will, but very rarely do you often hear do you hear an artist say, "I'm gonna love you no matter what."
And, yeah.
Period.
I'm
yeah.
going, and that's a big thing, and that's one of those
Yeah.
things that you have, like when you get married, you have to,
Yeah.
when you enter into a relationship and you make that commitment to somebody, to say to someone,
Yeah.
no matter what happens here, I'm here. Like,
And
you're like, this is it.
Yeah, it's a
I like
powerful
the
message.
chorus for that reason because
broad.
like when you
give it
say that you love someone, you want to say it again and again, like all the time. The moment you're like, I love you,
Yeah.
you know, it's like that. It's the Cole Porter thing where he just like wrote an entire song. He's like, I love you, I
Yeah.
love you, you know, and just like do it again and again. And I don't mind for the purpose and the story of this song for the chorus to be unconditionally, I love you, unconditionally, you know, like reaffirming it again and again, like.
That's actually, you know, I'll
You
take
know.
that point. I almost negates an earlier point I had, which is that I was finding fault almost in the concept behind singing about unconditional love. I feel like has been done in a way, but then again, the way you put it made a lot of sense. The fact that you say now, not till death,
Yeah.
not to, but to say it so broadly that
Yeah.
may be the art right there.
Right.
Well, and also the messages have been similar over the years, but Mark hit the nail on the head. It's not been said this specifically this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the no
that I
matter
can think
what.
of.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
forever is so ridiculous when you think about it.
But saying
like,
that you'll love someone no matter
No matter what.
that's the present.
Like-
That's whether something happens to you now or something happens to you 30 years from now, I'm still going to love you.
I'm still, you know,
That's more impactful, I think.
it's more decision based than time based, which is nice.
Yes.
I am going to be a little bit of a hard ass, though. I have to be just a little bit of a hard
That's
ass
okay.
when it comes to certain lines here, because there's this moment, I believe it's actually right following the chorus. You might consider it like a chorus part 2. And it's so, open up your heart and just let it begin. And then there's this sort of chorus-like, and I do mean chorus, as it sounds like there's multiple voices there. Open up your heart and just let it begin. Open your heart and just let it begin. I'm sorry about that line.
the
As sweet
gospel.
as it is, it's just,
Oh.
it's a little too broad. I think, like, I can accept your argument in terms of how broad might make it work in terms of the previous chorus, but just that line, open up your heart and let it begin, it's almost meaningless to me at this point. It's just, let it begin, open up your, I don't know, I'm brought back to like old standards at that point, you know. Just seems like I have other places to go to get that kind of message at this point. I don't know. That's where I'm at.
I also think, I understand the way you find yourself annoyed with the repetition of the choruses, but I think it's one of the ways that you hear a song and you walk away and go, what was the name of that song? With every single one of her tracks, it's never a question.
Yeah, you know
Because
exactly what the name
I
of the
wonder
song
if
is.
it's just like a marketing ploy, so that when you
I would
hear it on
argue
the
that
radio,
with some
you
tracks
step
later
away
on
and
this
go,
album, but for
unconditionally.
sure.
But
for sure
the
many
name
of
of the song is called what?
I forgot.
Even that is not really a necessary marketing ploy nowadays.
Yeah.
On your phone, you have half a dozen different ways to figure out a song that you're listening to.
Yeah.
If you're listening on a radio,
That's what I
they're
think
going to
of,
say
like,
before and
at
afterwards.
the grocery store or in your car.
Or if you're listening it on a mobile device, it's going to show the album cover,
Oh,
the
yeah,
year
but-
produced. Every little bit of
Yeah.
information.
I don't
comes
think
up.
bringing up the technology there should demean the impact that a song should have. I think it's still a very good measure is just by whether you remember the melody or remember the title, you know, immediately.
Right.
You know, you shouldn't need technology to really help you in that
Yeah, but I
regard.
remember when Green Day made Good Riddance, and everyone called it Time of Your Life, and I felt so important knowing
that
it was actually called Good Riddance,
yeah.
even though that it's not even in the in the lyrics themselves. Those words, I like stuff like that.
Don't worry, guys. We can disagree on this song because we'll all agree on the next one. Dark Horse.
No, we're not all agreeing.
So-
Featuring Juicy J.
So,
Juicy J.
So-
Kitty Purry.
Kitty Perry.
my only
Juicy
note,
J.
my only note about this song is bad rap is bad, and you should feel bad.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
so
if you're feeling-
stupid.
Bad rap.
If
It's
you're
not the
feeling
only
like
part
a
of the
pimp-
songs. we
No,
gotta
it's
talk
actually a
about.
very
But
small
it-
part of the song.
Yeah.
Is
that-
it because it feels huge?
No, it does, because
Yeah.
this is the thing. Well, maybe it's just because my eye roll is huge at that point, because it's just, again, I hate to have to, you know, treat a pop album in terms of its tropes, but sometimes I really just have to point it out. It's so common now to just have the featured rap artist, you know, 2/3 of the way through your track, let's have him take over and just sort of have a little aside. Not necessarily a diatribe, but it's maybe a different way of phrasing the theme third person, and then we go right back to the same chorus again.
But it's
I'm
like-
just a little tired of it. It's
sounded
divorced
like,
from the
Like
music.
he didn't listen to the song.
He didn't listen to the song
Yeah,
because
Like he just wrote it.
Yeah, the verse, his verse is actually a very polar opposite to what the rest of the song is about. And Katy Perry's saying like, "I am very powerful, and I am coming at you like this underdog, and you're going to be under my spell, essentially."
Make
and
me your Aphrodite.
Yeah,
Well,
and
precisely, if
his
you've got-
his verse is, I'm I'm going to put her in a coma, which is actually like a very dominating, like male, like taking over the woman, like thing, and it really.
Yeah, I was actually
You know,
having trouble with
I think
that.
he meant that he was going to like fuck her into a coma. Was what that meant.
Yeah, but
that's still dominating.
like a male dominating a woman when the rest of this song is about I am powerful and I am
He didn't listen to this.
He
That's
did not, and I
you
don't
can't
even
like reference
I don't,
Aphrodite in something as
Yeah.
rich as theology,
and like you can't
he
make
could
a
have done so
powerful
many
woman
cool
a villain
things.
either.
Yeah. But he
which makes me
references
so angry. Like he
Jeffrey
calls her Jeffrey
Dahmer and,
Dahmer. Like
just so he's an
you
idiot.
know.
No,
It's
that
just-
and that means the trope is exactly as shallow as I make it out to be. This format that we have that has worked well and really hit box. Well, not box office, but obviously, it's hit the top of the charts in previous occasions. So let's just use this format and just hand it off. And here, rapper, do what you do.
It made as
It
much
doesn't
sense
matter whether
as
it
that
matters.
all
like
the time.
Vanessa
Yeah.
Black Friday song. It made as much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It made as much sense. I'm gonna start
Here's-
unconditional.
She's a beast.
But that's not
Call
it.
it karma.
That's not it. It goes further.
Go ahead.
Because in the verses, she's so overpowerful. She's such a large, lofty figure. But in the choruses, she's explaining how he's going to be surprised. Even though, from her description, she steps and the earth shakes.
Yeah.
And everybody will know. Even in the video itself, it's a great way to personify. She's Cleopatra. Everybody knows Cleopatra.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think
People in freaking Asia would have known Cleopatra when she was alive. She was that kind of a world shaker. But the chorus is the whole idea of the dark horse, if I'm not mistaken, was
We looked it up.
Yeah, we did
Yeah,
look it up,
we
but I'm
Googled
trying to
it.
remember it.
It was
The
it was
Dark
an
Horse
underdog coming up
coming out
and
of the ranks
making
and-
like taking over.
She's not the
Yeah.
underdog.
If she's a
Yeah.
world shaker,
Yeah, she's
the
already a world
exact
shaker.
antithesis of underdog.
That's
Yeah.
a really
Well,
good
I think
point,
you go-
actually.
I don't know if I agree with that 100%, though. I still think that at least, on at face value, he's being consistent with the theme. For instance, you end up with things like the fairy tale ending with a knight in shining armor. She can be my sleeping beauty. Well, at least she's still on a pedestal.
Yeah,
there.
but the
that
thing
was
is,
the
like,
pedestal. Sleeping
but
Beauty.
that's
I think
not.
we're also talking about the
I'm-
music video again, which if you don't watch the music video and just listen, she's not Cleopatra. She's the dark horse. I sometimes also think that
Yeah, I'm
people who
just
conceptualize
looking at the
music
words here.
videos,
They
don't
know.
they don't
Yeah.
listen to the
But
song
no,
either.
the juicy-
I agree with
The
that.
CCJ
verses themselves, I still would
Verses-
argue that.
is not rendering the power to the Katy Perry dark horse. He is still trying to dominate her in the lyrics there. Or
It's putting him in the
or
position of
lambast
power,
her.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
I dislike that, considering that song's all about. I hate to be a Spice Girl, but girl power.
you're absolutely right.
Like
though.
you say she's an earth shaker, and then you have this guest verse that makes her sound like
She's nothing.
a plaything.
Well, yeah, a
a
plaything
fairy
of the-
tale princess.
You also
I think
don't
it's more
ever-
like just
that
the
I'm gonna
moment
that I'm
itself.
gonna put in a coma.
I'm trying to be
Ew.
trying to be real with the lyrics here. I mean, I just think it goes back and forth. I think the general concept, he achieves it. I'm not saying he achieves it well, because it will slip back like such in that moment. I still think Sleeping Beauty is somewhat of the pedestal, but then when he breaks away to say I'm going to put her in a coma,
He thought he was so clever when he did that.
I know,
So
But
mad.
it-
probably
but it's-
did. But that's kind of like the aside
Yeah.
that you find it's also common. Like the similes are also very common as just an aside. They really don't have to have any relation to the actual plot point. They're just like little blurbs you throw in there because you have a lot of words you can cram into a rap. So might as
But
well just throw in
he
these
hardly crammed
bullshit
words into
lyrics.
there.
No.
Yeah, because at one
His
point
rhythms
he's
were off, like were very simple.
That's true. It wasn't
You know what I
like
mean?
it wasn't like a
He wasn't
smooth flow. It was
rapping.
just kind of the
like rappers speak and rap in the same song, and that's fine. But this guy didn't have enough space to do both. He should have just rapped. But he did a lot of talking points, and it wasn't good either. It was like he was talking. He could have been talking about making a peanut butter and jelly
Oh,
sandwich.
I just thought that. Like going went in the
describe-
fridge, got out peanut butter.
Like it's
No,
just
you're
well,
putting
like-
too much
like-
inflection.
Also,
Yeah.
you,
You
why are
sound
putting
better
the
than
peanut
he
butter
did.
in the
Got out
fridge?
peanut butter. I don't know, because if it's organic peanut
butter.
butter,
Oh,
it's
you're
gotta
right.
go
You
in the
gotta
fridge.
like the
I'll
similar.
start it up.
You got it.
Like
like Jeffrey,
Yeah, like
Jeffrey
Jeffrey Dahmer.
I
There's
like
your,
that.
there's your
Jeffrey
simile.
Dahmer also didn't eat women. Oh wait, she eats his heart, but he only ate gay
Yeah.
people.
She ride
I'm
me
gay. I
like
can say that it's true.
she ride me like a roller coaster.
Sure.
There's another
He
simile.
ate gay people. It made me scared of having sex in the woods. I don't know.
so weird. Overall, I like the song a lot. I don't like the Juicy J Yes,
His
first.
name is Juicy J.
Like, what kind that's
Gross.
the worst rap name
I
ever.
thought Juicy J was a girl, to be honest, because
Is
I
it-
was like, of course a girl would want to be juicy. Why would a boy want to be
Maybe
juicy?
he really liked those juicy juice boxes.
Okay, funny story.
Do
I
you
was,
think
in,
it's because of the juicy juice boxes?
Maybe.
I hope it is.
I was in the Woodbridge
always
Mall
have
at
one.
Went
some
to the
point.
fridge.
He's always
And
I
drinking
got
apple
a juice
juice.
box.
In the Woodbridge Mall, I was here with my friend James, and we found this guy who was selling rap records, right? Or at least we assumed they were his records. We assumed he was trying to like market his stuff right there in the mall, right? So he's handing these out, and he was asking for like $10 originally, and then we figured we could probably get him down to like $5 and whatnot. I was just feeling generous, you know what? I threw in the $5, and he makes up little names. I was Saucy Steve, and James was Juicy J, and that's exactly what he used. And I'm wondering now, because I never actually heard the artist Juicy J before, so maybe he actually was pulling it from the artist. But the actual end of the story is that it was not really his music, it was a mix tape. It was a mix CD
Yeah.
of just existing pop tracks. It wasn't even like for the dance floor, it wasn't for anything, it was just nothing.
Stuff.
So now I have very bad associations with Juicy J.
Juicy J.
2 and 1.
Boys can be juicy if they want to. I just
You can be
want
juicy.
to be juicy.
Yeah,
Jay.
don't hold me back as a boy. If I want to be juicy, I damn well will be
Just
juicy.
never wear those shorts, though.
The juicy shorts?
Guys cannot
Yeah.
pull off those shorts.
No,
Most
no.
women can't pull off those
Yeah,
shorts.
I know some
I
guys that
can't
can
pull off
them.
those shorts.
Well, that,
Juicy?
then the fact that I don't understand why women get offended when I read those shorts.
Be whatever adjective you want to be, regardless of gender.
There
Juice
you
is,
go.
juice is it's a gross word when you say it so much.
I was trying to make a joke and then I felt
Juice.
bad about
I'm
it.
getting grossed out. Juicy.
And now we move on to a track that I know is one of Chuck's favorite tracks because of how ridiculously terrible
it's so
it is.
terrible. I love
So
it.
this is a song called "This Is How We Do,"
Do
which,
do
This is
do
how we
do do.
do.
which
Not
has
even
no
that.
meaning whatsoever.
None.
This is
None
this is
meaning.
this
no,
is
no, it has
unequivocally,
meaning. This actually has meaning.
It's
This-
fiscal irresponsibility at its finest.
but it's clearly it's unignorably a either song parodying Kesha style
Oh, Katy
Kesha,
Perry does Kesha. I love
Miley
it so much.
Cyrus or Vanessa Black.
and or pirating it. Like either way,
Oh,
she's either
it's so
parodying or
good.
pirating, but either way,
It's
she's doing that style, hands down.
I'm not
It does more than
mad.
that. It even
She-
goes back to like the original.
Katy Perry.
This is how we do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh.
which was a real old school.
This is how we do
Montel
it.
Montel Jordan.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is
which is
how
all
we
about
do
being
it.
a baller.
yeah. And
Before
All right,
ballers
I'm
were-
calling it. I'm
You're
calling it right
my
now.
mind right now.
No, it's.
I
it's
hate
about
that
being a
concept,
G.
though.
Girls
I'm
can
just-
be ballers.
I can
Yeah, they
totally
can.
be
Whether
a
it's a
ball.
girl
Again,
or
be
guy, I don't
whatever
care.
adjective
Being
you
a
wanna be,
baller is not a
regardless of
fun
your gender.
theme for a track. It's not a track that I mean. It's an odd concept, which is why I think she's parodying it. Because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate when music's and the entire like all you can possibly attribute to theme is just being a baller.
Yeah.
It's weak.
And
The
no,
best
that's
part
what I'm
is
saying.
she does
That's-
a Kesha
that's-
impression.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. That is
Yeah,
exactly how Kesha
Absolutely.
sounds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. And what I like about
I love it.
like
I
Katy
love it.
Perry is not she's not infamous in the way that this song says.
Right.
She's
Yeah.
not known for being Lindsay Lohan or
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean. She doesn't have an ounce
She's singing
of dirt
about
on
a
her.
false lifestyle.
Precisely, and I mean,
Yeah,
maybe she
she's-
does. Maybe she's just really good about keeping it clean.
She's
or something,
enjoying
but-
this song essentially about fronting. I love it.
Big hoops and maroon lips. My clique hopping in my Maserati. I mean, gee,
Yeah.
this is thick.
Yeah.
It's with
Just like so much fronting.
at the
It's
supermarket
just
grabbing tacos.
Well, it's followed up by grabbing tacos, checking out hotties.
Ah,
Now we're
tacos.
talking
Oh,
about
you always
I
gotta.
love tacos.
Yep.
Taco.
You know, got to
See,
combine the high life
yeah.
with something really, really down to earth, because that's also commonly done in Kesha's
Yeah.
music. But then again, it's also been posed that Kesha was being sort of. I don't really buy this in the
No.
slightest.
That she's like
but
that.
it's been suggested that it's all
She's
just a
ironic.
joke.
She's doing the ironic thing too ironically that we can't notice that she's being ironic.
Yeah.
This is getting layered.
Meta.
So meta.
Well, the thing I do like about this song, though, but also kind of takes it a little bit away from me, is something Steve brought up, is this song is incredibly ironic, and I get that she's making fun of a lifestyle that she doesn't live, and doing it in a style of song that she would never sing, except
Yeah.
she is singing it. The problem is this track is so ironic, and not a lot of the others are, that it's kind of like a sore
It's
thumb.
got,
Well,
it's
this
got
is
the
what I'm
piece
saying.
de
It's a little
resistance
bit-
of irony in this. It does the callback, bring back the chorus. No, I
Yeah.
ain't done singing. Bring back the beat,
And
and
this
goes
is what
into
I'm
the
trying
chorus
to say.
again.
It's getting a little bit
there's that
ridiculous in
party
music
scene
these days.
where you hear people like cheering when she's like be irresponsible with your rent money and buy bottles
Bottle
of
service.
Absolute. I don't know.
But this is just getting a little bit too much. I mean, obviously, just look at how we looked at Kesha here. That's a fine line. Well, maybe Kesha is doing it as a joke, but we all scoffed just now.
Yeah,
well,
but the difference
here's
is...
the thing. With Katy Perry, we're pretty sure it's a joke, but
Yeah,
you've got to say
because-
how far you can really get away with it. I mean, obviously, you can get away with whatever you can get away with, but in terms of like, when something is just this endless, what do you call it? I want to say, almost kind of the Russian doll syndrome.
Matryoshka.
Yeah, let's go with that.
That's what they're
That's
called.
what they're called? There you go.
Matryoshka.
Russian
Okay.
nesting dolls.
The nesting dolls. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I was
Oh.
wondering
The
what
comment,
Yeah,
in the
it's-
comment, in the
it's
comment, in the
some
comment.
sort
It's a little much at that point. You know, why don't you just say what you want to say?
I just like that she's got it. She's smart and she's got a sense of humor, and that's apparent. But it's only really apparent in the song. And there are other moments, like in Birthday and other tracks, but it's mostly just here, and I just feel like it's kind of out of nowhere.
Well,
Especially
yeah.
considering after this point on the album, it gets very, very, very personal and introspective after this. A lot of the songs are very much about her and her emotionality.
I
and
have
this,
the best
and,
reason for this whole thing.
and if there's a dividing line using the song, which I kind of get, it still seems kind of out
The
of place.
dividing
to me.
line, I think, is simply that she probably does really want to go under the radar here. She's not really trying to do a satire album, per se. She still wants it to be accessible. She still wants it to be enjoyed. If she went too far on the satire line, like we kind of want her to do in terms of making fun of Kesha, then it would be a Lonely Island track.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we really like that album.
It's really good.
It's true, so then maybe that's what she should do. Just break away.
We-
but it would be
we
odd for her
We
fans.
recently did their most recent album.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we liked it a lot.
We liked it a lot.
Episode
Hell of a
80.
lot.
You guys
Check it
also,
out.
I just saw here that one of the guys that helps write for Juicy J also helped write for this album, which may be why he's on the album
Ooh.
at all.
Crossover.
Yeah.
And Kesha too.
Promotion.
One of the guys that helped write for Kesha.
Cross,
Yeah.
My friend represents.
marketing.
Yeah. Cross promotion. I said that.
You know
No,
what's
marketing.
What's interesting?
Same
Like,
thing.
when Katy
No.
Perry first started her career, they were having a hard time figuring. Let's reference her movie again, guys.
Oh, here it goes.
So
my whole life.
whenever Katy Perry started her career, they were having a hard time finding where she fit in genres. So they were trying out all sorts of different things. And to be honest, of the 4 albums of hers that I've heard, I think this is the one that feels like it's grasping the most. Like it can't seem to find a
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
And it's one of the hardest things that artists have to deal with these days. Think about when Madonna released Ray of Light.
Yeah.
Or think about, I don't know, like they have to continually reinvent themselves, otherwise reviewers get bored with them and they go, oh, it's just the same old, I don't know, thing that they're doing again.
Yeah.
So they're always trying to find,
Yeah.
and here, she's not specific about what she's choosing.
She's just kind of grasping at everything
She's
to
like,
get her hands on.
let's go to
Oh,
India.
She's just throwing
Let's...
shit at the wall to see what sticks.
Considering
Well,
what you
you-
showed us
yeah.
about the beginning of her work, it started as some kind of crossover Alanis Morissette
Yeah,
they
slash
like
very
country
Avril Lavigne.
vibe. Yeah. And
Well, not
yeah.
finding your place leads right up to International Smile.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Exactly.
There we go.
This is-
Segues.
Segues.
I'm loving this. We
That
never
was a
have-
me segue. You should hate yourself.
Yeah, well,
You
didn't do it.
Well,
Someone had to.
I'm gonna start this discussion by saying Katy Perry references Katy Perry.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
now
she
we're getting
does.
really meta, and
Oy.
I don't know. Like it's. I mean, emotionally, it's a very interesting song. It's this idea that it starts out talking about, this person who is solo and enjoying it and doing the best she can, and she's totally happy. And then it slowly devolves into, I'm not that happy. I need this someone else. I need that something else.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There wasn't a lot of standout about the song to me. There was an interesting vocalization of a vocalizer on the track towards the end that I
Yeah, that
thought
was
was
really
interesting.
cool.
Like, because you couldn't tell at one point whether it was a guitar
We'll get to that,
solo
we'll get to
Yeah.
that.
or her voice. But I don't know. Just the rest of the song seemed kind of empty and straightforward and tropey.
Yeah.
You compared this to Chuck. You compared this to Teenage Dream. Was that the track?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
the beat was almost relatively the same.
You
Yeah.
can sing them right on top of each other.
Yeah.
That's why
So you
Katy
think-
Perry references
The
herself.
question is, you think it's intentional?
Yeah.
I just think that a lot of what she's doing on this album in its entirety, at least in the beginning, before you get to the end bit, which is very like emotional and stuff, is an intentional reference to what she has to do now to like stay relevant and stay on top and stay in the scene, because you listen to her body of work and you hear what an individual she is in the first album and how that's her voice, and you said she played guitar, you know, like she's
Who knew that she
musically
does
inclined.
that?
And the fact that she takes these tropey songs and she goes, you know what, I'm gonna troll birthday parties for this song about birthdays and birthday sex, you know, and she takes what is cookie cutter and she injects it in the way she performs it or the way that she produces it in a video that is like, I'm a fucking weirdo. And I like that.
Yeah.
It sounds like what we're getting into here is the question as to whether modern music is now becoming this beast of self-reference, or at least referencing something.
Yeah.
And that is the new phase that she's feeling like she has to go over to in order to be relevant.
Well,
I know we're talking like a little bit
We're getting
but
layer happy.
If you watch most of her music videos, she's coming out of Teenage Dream. Did you notice in the one that you were talking about where she's in the labyrinth? At the very beginning of that video, she's on the pink cloud, and they're like, "Great job, that's a wrap." And again, talking about the movie, I'm sorry guys, but this Teenage Dream was really huge for her because on that tour, which if you notice, it was 2 years until she made the next album. She broke up with this person who was supposed to be the man that she was going to spend the rest of her life with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that was the reflection of it, because she was all over the world. She was traveling everywhere, selling out all over the place, and in the midst of it, she couldn't keep up a relationship. So yeah, she had the international smile, and I think that's also kind of why you lead into the next song, where she's and it's her literally. I think he broke up with her in a text message.
Yeah. The lyric, I believe, is in the song.
Ghost.
You know, it's funny
Yeah,
because this
Ghost,
almost
that's
takes
the
me
next
back.
which is the next track.
Takes me back 2 weeks ago to episode 93, in which we reviewed Old Boy John by Dumbfounded, where everything was about the disassociation, where it was sort of a fourth wall breaker. You'd know in the music that he is the artist, and that he's becoming disassociated, not just from relationships, but also from his friends and whatnot, as the fame just continues to rise. And I guess I'm kind of almost getting that vibe a little bit here, but especially now that we have another theme going in that direction, I guess I just kind of want to leave the question open as to how much things can really be self-reference at the end. I personally am a little tired of it, and I think it's a fine line where there was a phase where that was really, really popular. I feel like college, for one thing, is teaching me to just reference or identify something that's a little bit metatextual and just go, oh, it's so brilliant, but it's just a little bit redundant at this point, maybe. I don't know. I kind of am just looking for content. Like, all this is just sort of dancing around the content, but it's not always content. Just an idea I'm putting out there. I'm not decided on it necessarily.
I agree with you.
Wow, that never happens.
That was
He said a
strangely
lot, and
unanimous.
I have very
And you
little
tuned
to-
out halfway through it.
No, I have nothing of content to bring about International Smile.
I mean,
Yeah.
what I do like is, I mean, I tend to connect more with emotional songs, and there's more of an internal voice in these next couple of tracks,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah,
really
that's what
get
I'm
it in the
looking
next,
for.
and that's what
It
you really
comes.
get in Ghost. Ghost track 9 is, I mean, it's her singing about really seeing someone for who they really are.
Yeah.
You know, and the idea of you can look through a ghost because they're translucent, and she can see through that person
Yeah,
because
that
they're like a
cold
ghost.
Yeah.
And you know,
Individual.
Well, no. I take it more of a slant of the way they remove themselves from her life, and the fact that they remove
well, it's
themselves
both.
from
It's
her
Yeah,
life.
in
it's
the
both.
lyrics.
It's that more so.
No, it's both. It's in the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's
like,
not one or the other. It's both.
Vanishing like a vapor is the way they left, and I can see clearly. I see through you. You know, that whole concept of like this person. Were they ever really solid? Were they ever really present? Were they always that? And now
If
am I
it's the kind of-
finally seeing it in hindsight?
If it's the kind of person that's going to break up with you in a text message,
Yeah, which is
Ghost.
I want
well,
this
but she
song
does.
to be
No,
like,
I detect
"Fuck you,
progression.
asshole, for breaking up with me in a text message." That's what that song.
Fair enough, though,
Can't
but
take
I
this
detect
breakup.
progression here, because she says clearly something has died. There was once something there, and perhaps
Now
it does
it's-
have to do with, her going around the world and not being able to keep up with it, so maybe there's a little bit of, it's a two-way street, but either way, it's she lost something that once was a lot more
Yeah,
connected.
that was there.
Yeah.
And it's gone.
But two
Rest in
things. Two
Except for
things.
when she says, like you were never alive, but then again, that's the way she sees it now in present view, so.
Yeah.
Okay, my two things. One, once again, the choruses are longer than the verses. Something I really don't like, and I'm getting tired of. One of the main gripes with pop music is that there's so little content, and the verses are how you deliver a lot more
You
content.
mean musical content or?
Lyrical and vocal content. The other thing is, I feel like it's another hash of Birthday in style because of the just repetition and expansion of the single metaphor that's being used here. It's just every which way she can say you're invisible is being said here.
Well, that's because that's what the song's about.
But
Your
it's
gripe
got
is with what the song's about.
No, my gripe is that there's no flavor to it.
What do you mean?
My
What do you mean by
Vision's
flavor?
2020. Just that. There's nothing to it. There's so many different ways you can talk about.
How else
She's
would...
not. She's not all that. She's never really great at finding the interesting way to say something.
Yeah,
she
and
tends to just like say it.
It's very matter-of-factually, but it's trying to convey that really high emotion. She's trying to hit peaks and valleys while she's singing this.
Well, I have an
If
interesting...
she, no. If she matter-of-factually said it, I could see it going somewhere with that.
Oh,
Okay,
but
but wait,
this
no,
song
wait,
would
I have a
never
point.
work at all, though, if that's the case, because the
I know,
entire
that's-
song is bent on the
And I
metaphor.
also have a point, John. You said that you
Yeah.
don't like how overused the idea of having 20/20 vision is. Great, give me another metaphor that means the same
not
thing.
just 2020 vision, just the vision, the idea of the vision metaphor, the perfect.
When I see,
clear
I
eyes.
see,
Rather
I
than-
see his
rather
point
than, like,
there.
talking more about what he did to her, all she does, that's like me going, your hat is red, your hat is rojo, your hat is blood-colored.
You're
like,
wearing a red
She
hat,
didn't get
like it's-
specific.
Okay.
She didn't
It's-
tell a story. She just explained that he was a ghost in 19 different ways. I think is what he's trying to
Yeah, that's
Gotcha.
that's
Yeah.
exactly it.
I am
It's
gonna. We're going a little bit around here,
kind
but I
of
know I
beating
did.
a dead horse.
A little bit. I see your points, but I also think again that's the purpose of the song, and the song relies on that. But I am
Yeah.
going to accept your point just on the line "My vision's 2020" because that is not a metaphor. That kind of is just a statement.
Yeah.
It's a statement.
That
It's a-
alone,
it
I think,
now.
has less meaning for me than, for instance, "There's a pillow where your head used to sleep." That has meaning to me. That
Yeah.
obviously is,
That
you
is
know,
very like visceral in the concept because everybody's had that moment where you like wake up and you think
God.
someone's going to be there and they're not.
Why is the dent still on the pillow?
Oh,
Yeah.
it smells like you.
an echo where your heart used to be. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, these things, I have no problem that these things get
Yeah.
get repeated. But then when you have a line like "My vision's 2020," that almost seems like a little bit of the hip hop trope. You know, almost like that. You know, here comes whatchamacallit, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah,
I
it's
hate him. He's
like-
so scary.
but just like bringing in a random thing, it almost
To
seems just
reference,
as random.
yeah.
Like, okay, my vision's 2020. In other words, I can see, but you're not there. That's hammering it home a little bit too far. So I see a bit of a separator between
I-
multiple metaphors and hammering home the concept that you're seeing the metaphor.
I admit that
Yeah.
I like the literal ghost references. You know that he was cold, that he's a vapor.
But
Yeah,
how
no,
was he
I'm down with
cold?
that.
Well, I know.
That's what I want.
I
What did Russell
understand that you
Brand
want.
do to her? You don't learn in the movie.
How
Oh my
cold
God.
is he?
I need you to calm down. But no, it makes it kind of cohesive in the fact that you are a ghost. Here's why you are a ghost. You know, and here is something that was alive and now is dead and now is a ghost. You know, I don't know. I really like the lyrics and the use of what we visualize as a ghost being a person or a relationship.
And the
I
way
think I'm
that,
gonna
and the
settle
way
with
that it
this.
haunts you.
I like
Yeah.
the
I mean,
metaphors.
I think the word itself has so much in it.
That's
That
true.
when you hear it, you're
That's
like,
true.
Ooh.
And I think those metaphors really hit it home. I think my only problem is maybe the words in between. The lines in between
Yeah.
the metaphors are the weak part of this song. Because sometimes she can just kind of get very down to, you know, when I look back, never would have known that. You know, it kind of goes back and forth between the straightforward, the face value, and then on the other hand, the metaphor.
It's like someone trying to be in a creative writing class for the first time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
like,
a good way to put it.
Spring is warm. Here is it.
Here's
But
that
it's
side.
undeniable though that this song is way more emotional than a lot of the earlier
Yeah.
tracks.
Oh,
yeah.
Like, she's
It's
getting
definitely
much more
emotional.
heartfelt,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
personal.
you can feel it in her voice and
Yeah.
the way that she's using it.
And
Especially-
last but not least, music. I just got to say this chord progression here was just absolutely tiring. A lot more was
Yeah.
done in the previous tracks. This was just the same old four chord progression. It was a little 80s sounding, which I guess kind of makes it consistent with previous tracks, but not to any unique degree.
Yeah.
So I have very little to say about the music, except that the emotional tone was, I guess, fitting. That's
Yeah.
about it. But
Yeah.
you know, it's
You know
not
what's-
difficult.
What's interesting is like the album felt longer than it is.
Yes, I agree.
It's only 13 tracks.
Yeah.
Because where Teenage Dream was like 20, I think. It was some crazy number of tracks. But this was only 13, and I swear, it felt like 30.
Yeah. Moving on to the next track, Love Me. So, this song, for me, musically, I didn't know whether I loved it or hated it, but emotionally and message-wise, this song hit home really hard.
This was another song
It's
where
like that.
the verses were just great musically and the choruses plateaued.
But I like this idea of... Not a lot of pop stars will sing about learning to love themselves before loving other people. The only other one I can reference immediately is Pink. Always talks about, like her song
she's
"Don't
so
Let Me
good.
Get Me." Like she sings about how she can barely love herself.
But
So
guys,
how would anyone else?
These guys wrote for Pink, too.
Yeah, but that's just it.
Weird.
But
And-
why are they giving Pink all those songs?
Because Pink
Because she's
picks those
baller.
songs.
And she's amazing.
Then Katie should pick some of those songs, because this worked out
I'm not
great.
kidding. The song "We Can't Stop" was written for Rihanna, and Miley went, "Nope, I want it." Yoink, and she took it
Yep.
because she wanted something
Miley.
different.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Ta-da! Think about
I've
if
seen
Rihanna
Miley's
had done "We
nipples.
Can't Stop."
It probably would have been a lot better.
Yeah, I love "We Can't Stop" though.
I don't
love
even know that song.
I do.
I feel like I've seen
Ooh, I
Miley's
play the
nipples
shit
more
out
I
of
than
do
it.
I've
gotta
seen
say,
my
the
own in
concept
past, like,
of just
6
sort of
months.
picking from a hat right there is a little bit
Yeah.
irritating. It depersonalizes it for me the
Yeah.
second I
A little
hear
bit,
about it.
Well, those kinds of things also kind of get pushed on you by your label.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
But I feel like these selections of songs, like at the end, I think if they were like, here's some songs out of a hat, I think Katie had emotional connections to these songs, and
Well,
that's why she chose them.
There were some interesting choices here.
If
in
that's
the way
the
she
case, I mean,
Yeah.
True.
which it could.
Just in the way she was singing quickly, and I think this was your comment, Mark. You mentioned how her singing style here had sort of a strong, weak on the syllabolic
Again,
pattern.
with that.
Yeah.
I think this was like the track which it was almost like that throughout. Although I forget, it could have been just the verses and not the choruses and whatnot. It was interesting. I don't remember whether our consensus was that it was annoying at sometimes, but
I don't know why
I don't know.
find it so...
I enjoyed it a lot
annoying.
more than
Annoying.
when it occurred
Annoying?
earlier.
Annoying?
Annoying.
Then
Oh,
it's
I
like a
like that
question.
one.
It wasn't-
Annoying?
She
Annoying?
wasn't just
You're welcome.
emphasizing.
You can keep that one.
No, the thing was, she wasn't just emphasizing the, and stuff like that, which was what kind of bothered earlier.
yeah.
She was
Yeah.
actually emphasizing.
Strange words.
No,
Like,
if I remember,
parts
it was
of the
like
song-
I lost myself in fear of losing it. I lost myself in fear of. It was very much like it felt like an iambic pentameter kind of thing.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I like Shakespeare.
And again,
but
even-
that's, I love that line also. I lost myself.
I lost myself in fear of losing
Losing
you.
you.
Well, there's a
Losing
lot
it.
of great
Yeah.
lines in this.
Yeah.
This
I
one-
wish I
This one
didn't
is-
do, but I did.
And also,
Yeah.
that's
That's
why
why.
I think I really like it. Even if it was a song plucked out of a hat written by someone else, she makes
Yeah,
it her
she
own
makes
here.
it a
Yeah.
song
And again,
that
it's
means
not.
something to
I'm
her.
even happy that a record label put out a song like this, because record labels rarely want you to talk about the reality of self-image.
Yeah.
It's usually everyone's
Thinking.
pretty, everyone's great. Look at all these pretty people we
Yeah.
put on albums. This was very much self-reflective,
Sex,
and
sex,
I.
sex, fiscal
The
irresponsibility.
thing with Katy
Yeah.
Perry is
Pop music.
she's so stunningly beautiful that no matter what she does visually, that's always going to be what she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She says she's such a classic, like shapely, like curvy, sexy woman. I don't know that she doesn't have to work for that ever.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a difference
it's
between
a
like
classic style, definitely.
But if we're talking about like loving yourself like because you're attractive, it's not about loving what's on the outside. This song is about loving what's in.
On the inside.
As well, too,
yeah,
which
like
is
loving
always part of it.
everything about you.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
let's-
like
I had a
Let me
therapist
break apart a
once.
few of these lyrics here, just quickly, because there are, especially when you
They're
pointed out
great.
to me, Mark, this is one of the more unique messages, I think, on this entire album. Let me just read that whole stanza. I lost myself in fear of losing you. I wish I didn't do, but I did. I lost my own identity, forgot that you picked me for me. That's pretty sweet. And even
Yeah.
beginning of the next line, but now I don't negotiate with insecurities.
That's my
I-
favorite
See,
line
this
of the
is
whole
a
song.
I got
unique message.
goosebumps,
The
guys.
Yeah, I just
concept,
got goosebumps.
the concept of being just at the tail end of your relationship prior to a breakup taking place, when everything is just a little bit dicey. You know,
Yeah.
you don't quite know who you are. You're sort of shifting from you're making decisions that you otherwise may not have made. This is a unique message. This is not something that gets talked about, 24/7 in love music. This is not the same thing to me, for instance, as unconditionally. Unconditionally is a timeless message. You can tell me in any number of ways. It's not going to affect me the same way that it may have affected me the first time I heard it, or if it were stated differently. But this this is in of itself. This I could hone this down as Katy Perry's, regardless of the fact that maybe the lyrics were written by someone else and the song could have gone to someone else.
She
you
does
gotta
write
treat the
on
lyrics
all
for
of
the
them,
lyrics.
apparently. Like,
Yeah,
allegedly
she-
she does. It says it on the top of
Yeah.
this. She's
That's-
always the first writer on...
There is one line I really want to talk about in the chorus. I'll be the one defining who I'm gonna be. No concealing feelings or changing seasonally. I'm gonna love myself the way I want you to love me. It's that right there. I'm the one defining myself. No concealing feelings or changing seasonally.
Right, the
This
concept
is a
of changing yourself for another.
It's one metaphor. Textually, it's a lot more to it.
Yeah.
This right there explains my issues with previous.
But there was a previous song.
Yeah,
was
with-
that.
right
Yeah.
there. There's more content right there than I found in Birthday.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean...
And I get that. But
Birthday's a boner song.
yeah, birthday.
Well, no, regardless of
It's a
what
boner song.
they're actually trying to
half.
talk about,
Yeah.
content.
Not a
I
half
mean,
boner.
Happy.
in the ideas presented, there's
Yeah.
more content in just those
Yeah.
three ideas than in all Birthday for me.
Like, whenever you hear the line... Because I think I'm interpreting it differently. That first line, to me, sounds like somebody who's changed themselves for someone else. In the sense of, like, you like karate movies, so I like karate movies. And in doing that,
Right,
I forgot what I like.
your interests. for the
Is that
sake
how
of
you guys see
Yeah.
it?
No, it is.
Yeah,
It definitely
Okay,
is.
good. I just wanted to
Yeah,
make sure.
that's
Okay.
The
'cause
like,
that's-
it's really really interesting subject matter because it really hones in on how much you should change yourself, if you should change yourself at all. Now, a good message is probably, well, don't change yourself at all. But at the same time, there's always that feeling like, well, if you love me, or if I love
Yeah.
you, well, there's going to be a little bit of natural inclination
Yeah,
to
like,
kind of appease.
Oh,
but
yeah.
how
Well, but
far
you're
should
getting
that
to know
go?
someone.
Yeah,
Like, it's
exactly.
like finding someone's
taking an
interest
interest in someone's
finding
interest.
out
Exactly,
your
because
It's
no one is
different than-
identical, right? So it
You
almost
eat poached eggs, so I'm going to eat poached eggs, even though I personally like scrambled eggs.
Exactly.
Like,
Sunny side up here.
yeah, I got runaway bride on that.
poached is best. actually.
Poached is
I do
the
like
best.
poached. I had
Internet
poached eggs today for
It's
breakfast.
very hard for me to find.
Yeah, but you
I'm
can't.
so
You gotta like
hungry.
swirl the
Me too.
water and
Yeah,
then
it's a
you
tricky-
put it in.
yeah.
It's,
thing.
it's not
It's-
that tricky. I
It's
don't
not
know.
just food. It's
I'm
magic
food
and
challenge.
science.
It is. It's
It's
weird.
magic and
Yeah, but
science.
it's hard to
You-
put a poached egg into a breakfast.
I've had
burrito, which is
diners-
what I truly love.
Diners would not poach eggs for me.
Yeah, you wouldn't
I've
want
asked
that.
and they wouldn't
No.
do it.
Cafe
Scrambled is
Edison
a
will
perfect
poach an
choice.
egg
I
for
like
you.
a
It's
sandwich
so
with
good.
like
Cafe Madeline, too.
with the yolk still soft. I like it like exploding all over my hands and
Then you do
You would.
poached, but I love.
Just
I
saying.
love.
I just
You like all those juices exploding all
just
over
like
you.
just like kind of shooting out.
We're going to a very interesting place.
Let's talk about birthday.
Let's go back.
Obviously, I'm getting
Let's
hungry.
revisit birthday
Internet.
for the sake of it.
Let's move on to this moment, track 11.
Yeah.
So this one I don't really have a lot to say about. Otherwise, I mean, it was a very face value song.
Hold
Even
on.
though,
I got it. Katy Perry does Kelly Clarkson
there you go.
I wrote.
More reference.
I've got one thing.
all the time.
It had piano in it,
Yeah.
which was nice.
It was sweet. It was heartfelt. It was very face
It was-
value.
Yeah.
It was nice.
My problem with it was it started playing when we listened to it, and I was like, I don't remember this song. Like
Yeah.
I could not remember it.
Well, it
and,
was a
and that's
ballad coming out of a ballad, which
yeah,
I think is part
which
of the
is
problem.
kind of
It blended.
to be honest,
That's
like
interesting.
if we're gonna like wrap up this album, I actually have like an interesting point about the organization of this. But yeah, I mean, in the concept of being listenable, it's not great to put a ballad next to a ballad. But there's a reason, I think, and I want to talk about it later and when we
Okay.
get through everything.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm maybe making the same point as you.
Yeah.
Save that wrap up then.
Um,
Otherwise, yeah, we're
the
talking
song, there's not a lot
pretty,
to say.
Again, but this has kind of been done to death. I'm detecting kind of a vague 80s influence here.
Yeah.
The rhythm here was somewhat different than what we've had earlier. It's the sort of circular, steady guitar background. It felt very cyclical to me, which is almost a little bit hypnotic. We're not short of slightly hypnotic moments on this album, but other than that, it kind of made me forget the lyrics themselves.
Yeah.
That's
They
an
didn't
odd
stand
way to
out that
interpret it.
much.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, like I had very little to say about this song, and even less to say about the next one.
Except though that in the choruses, there's sort of a strong break here where everything just kind of like pulls away.
Mhm.
All the guitar, the background, that rhythm, it just pulls away and it's just a cappella at that point, or
Yeah.
nearly a cappella, maybe with synth. But it's again those juxtaposed moments. I kind of feel like she could have sat in one or the other. Probably would have had more power that way.
Yeah.
Personally.
Does anyone else have anything else to say about this song? Because I do not.
Nope.
It's a
No.
shame.
Okay. Moving on to Double Rainbow. All I wrote for this song is blarg.
Okay.
Because,
Yeah.
like,
I want to take the lead on this
Please do.
because I really am upset at some of the lyrics.
Okay,
Yeah.
why?
Because not only are they weak metaphors, they're bad metaphors.
And
Please
No,
elaborate.
a code that clicks open a gold mine.
What?
A gold mine is a place that you walk into to mine gold. That's not where they keep all the nice processed gold that would be
Aw.
under lock and key.
Yeah.
So right there,
Scrooge McDuck's
right
vault,
there. Yeah, exactly.
you know?
Made to fit like a fingerprint. Fingerprints are not made to fit someone.
They're made to individualize.
Like they don't
And
obviously don't
separate.
understand what they're writing about.
Wait,
here.
wait. Keep reading. I have a theory. Keep reading lyrics.
They
Oh,
say
God,
one
please go.
man's trash is another man's treasure.
Mm-hmm.
well, that's just a cliche.
Yes. When I found you, it was all pitter patter.
Got one.
Another cliche.
Yeah.
Because you're brighter than all of the northern lights.
Which
Northern
is
lights are not really
dim.
that bright. They're really
Yeah.
dim. They're eerie. They're
They're
beautiful. But you could
beautiful.
say you're more beautiful. Making
no,
them
but-
more brighter is not
but-
going to
Yeah, or
improve the
more
northern
colorful,
lights.
or-
Exactly.
But I'm starting to get a
more
pattern here.
fascinating.
None of the metaphors make sense.
No.
No,
it's
some
so
of them
bad.
actually can.
But no, but I think I'm starting to think it was intentional. A song's called Double Rainbow, and she doesn't mention a double rainbow.
Yes, she does.
Does she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Oh.
in
Oh,
the
okay.
chorus.
It's in the
She
chorus?
says it
Yeah,
right.
Because a double rainbow is hard to find.
Yeah. I
Like a double
I
rainbow.
don't know.
in the
I'm
sky.
starting to think that these terrible metaphors were on purpose. Why else would she have a song filled with them?
Okay, no.
Maybe.
It was deafening, loud like lightning, which is not sound at all. Come on. Come on.
This has to be.
Come on.
Okay, here's the thing
This
about
is just
this.
poorly written.
I see this track title and I instantly think of the Gregory brothers auto-tuned the guy in Yosemite who found a double rainbow. And I love things that like are references. I'm super into meta. It's why I kind of like a lot of what she's doing here. But I think this one was a bad choice because it is a reference to something that is actually a lot better than what you're doing. And I think that this was the weakest thing on the entire album. It's forgettable, it's poorly written, it's referencing something that's obviously better, with the whole, like even the YouTube video of the guy freaking out at the double rainbow.
What does it mean?
What does it mean? It's so bright. It's so vivid. You know what? He's actually describing something very well there because it is bright. It is vivid.
And
it
he's
is
crying.
And he's
And
crying.
honestly,
And he's
I
so
could feel that
happy.
emotion.
And there's more emotion there.
By
than
no
in
means.
Double Rainbow.
I'm with you on the whole
Katy
meta
Perry-
thing, but then you learn, I suppose, at a certain point to kind of draw the line and realize
I think
when
this is
when,
where
realize
the-
when to call BS. I think.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the line here. I think this is the here and no further.
I appreciate
moment
I
for
appreciate when it shows a certain level of genius to sort of
Yeah.
see the larger
Like-
picture, see the forest for the tree.
But I'm by no means trying to defend this track. I just think that the terrible metaphors are so bad that has to have been written
All
intentionally.
right, well, I was gonna
Because
give it the benefit
claiming
of the
that
doubt for a
lightning
minute.
makes a sound, she's not even that dumb. There's no
No.
way. There's no way.
No,
It was
but-
deafening, loud like lightning. It was striking.
Like
It's
I just feel like
comedic.
it
I
has
guess
to be
it is.
intentional. I don't know why,
No,
but it
I
has
have,
to be.
I have further points. The vocals are easily the weakest on the entire album.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
She sounds
I'm not saying
deadpan.
that she's making a
She
bad
sounds-
song on
Hang
purpose.
on a
She's singing
second,
in that
though.
lower register,
She's
which
I don't know
really
who's-
uninvested in this song.
Yeah.
I don't know whose point I'm arguing for at this point, but
You're arguing
loud
for mine.
like lightning is actually because the lightning does make the sound. We call it thunder, but it is the lightning making the sound.
It's the static.
Maybe just to say loud like lightning, it was striking is maybe the only reason she went
Maybe.
with that
But
line. In
all
which
I'm
case, then maybe it's not arguing for you; it's more arguing for them.
Which is fine, but I just don't think that Katy Perry, a person who clearly has a brain and has done some intelligent things, would make a song of metaphors that don't make sense at all.
I know.
Yeah.
The way she's
Yeah.
singing, the obvious disinterest she has in this song, this might have been just one that was fostered upon her.
Right.
Yeah. That she
I don't
just
think
had to
she's
do.
doing
But I
it
can't
because it's
imagine that you would
ironic or
spend
something.
hours in the
You trust it
studio
upon
and not go, wait a minute.
There's something wrong with this. Like, she might have just had to sing this, yeah.
Yeah.
Could be right.
I just know.
Either way, I'll agree it is the worst song on the album, hands down, easily. There's nothing worse than this song. Because even Birthday, it's
It's
candy.
fun.
It's still fun.
This is like, what is it? Like a Charleston chew or something. Like it's a candy that's
It's a
not
sugar
good.
daddy.
It's a sugar. Yeah, thank you. That's the one.
Those are the nastiest
What's that
candies
one
I've
that
ever
tastes
heard.
like like anise. I don't like those.
Oh, black licorice.
Yeah.
And
I like
or
that.
I actually like that.
or what's the one that tastes
Oh,
like chalk? The
Oh,
wafer,
the
Necco wafer.
Necco wafers.
This
Those
is
are my
the-
dad's
this-
favorite candy.
If
Wow.
This is
every
the Necco
track
wafer
Necco
of
wafer.
pop
on here
music.
was a candy, that would be a Necco wafer.
This is the Necco wafer
This is the Necco
of
wafer of
pop
music.
music.
Well, that's
No.
true, and that's the thing, Matt.
No,
I mean,
no.
Matt,
No,
Matt,
candy
Matt,
corn.
Matt, Matt.
What?
Even if you're right,
Oh, I love candy
this
I like
comes
candy
down
corn
to
in
the
the shape
thing.
of pumpkins.
You got to go balls to the
I
wall
wanna
or
put
not.
it in
But
my
then it's
This
not
didn't
candy
even
corn
come
anymore,
close
it's
to
candy
going
pumpkin.
balls to
You're
the wall.
absolutely
Listen,
right.
the candy corn of music would probably be like
Those are nice.
Corn.
4 different
Hannah
conversations.
Montana. Just
No,
like
no.
sugary,
Hey.
sweet, really bad for you. No, this is Necco wafer because it's bland and it's chalky and
Sucks.
it serves no purpose. Not even to like
Well, what about the
Guilt.
dots that are on the paper that you actually have to chew the paper when you're eating the dots?
you have to soak that in water first.
Yeah, that
I
was the trick.
never-
You
But
got.
I
it
never heard
dissolves the
that.
sugar.
Yeah.
It makes the colors run.
These colors don't
Really?
run.
Like,
What's that?
I don't make candy. I write music.
That's true, you do. Moving on to the final track
Which
of
I
the
guess make your
record.
opinion on this more valid. So let's go to track 13.
13 is By the Grace of God.
Therefore, but for the grace
I
of God,
think-
go I.
I think this is one of. I would say this is the best song on the album.
Yeah.
Yeah, her
could see
voice
it.
sounds
Like
great.
she wouldn't
This
have
is
to move
her-
around a bunch, which I know. Seeing her live, she does not sing well when she has to move
Right.
because she has to sing all those high notes, and then they have her flopping all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this was like a nice ballady.
She
just
sits
like,
on the stool on the
yeah,
stage in the
I'm
like
just
the
gonna
pinpoint
sing.
spotlight.
And I like
She
that.
sits, she rests, she focuses.
I like the fact that it's the final track is a ballad, and this one is again. I agree that her vocals have not sound better on the record except for
Yeah,
this song.
this
Like,
one, she
and
sounds-
uses instrument choices instead of going with all of the hyper technology, overly synthy stuff. She's got a snare drum in this. She's got a piano in this. It's much more stripped down.
And the snare drum is staggered, and I'm kind of go back and forth on that because that sort of goes back to that military theme, which I think is a little bit of a trope, but it's staggered. It doesn't come
Yeah,
until
it's
later
not
in the
the whole
track,
song.
and I'm not gonna gripe on it.
Yeah. All in all, I think it's a good conclusionary track because it kind of she's still singing from the heart. It's a little more stripped down. It's more
Yeah.
bare, and she's singing about some more personal stuff.
Yeah.
But
So.
it's more of a. It's kind of like a rehash of Love Me. I think the content
Love Me
of-
still had a ton of tech in it.
No, this itself. I mean, lyrically and message-wise, it's kind of a rehash of Love Me.
How so?
The whole idea, I pick myself up, I put one foot in front of the other. It's saying that same idea of
Well, no.
self-affirming your worth.
Yeah, but this is more about moving on and moving forward than just loving herself. This
Yeah.
is
No,
about
it's-
loving everything and moving forward. It's broader than Love Me was. It's much
hippie,
broader.
I love me. Let me bring that
to other
the
people,
universe.
yeah. It's more
Yeah.
broad than Love Me was.
That's where I think it loses some of the power of Love Me.
No,
Because I wouldn't even put this in the same ball field, emotionally or lyrically. I mean,
well, I
Love Me
mean,
felt personal. It felt heartbreaking. This feels like more anthemy.
well, it's supposed to be.
yeah,
Well, it
that's
is
the
an
whole-
anthem.
That's the problem.
No,
got
that's the song.
No, but it
as
draws
Steve said,
away
it's got
from that emotion.
The march,
disagree.
the march drum.
Oh yeah, the march.
The snare
You
drum.
can feel her climbing back on her way to the
Yeah,
top.
you know,
They're
the-
different messages. You're trying to mix messages that aren't going together. This is a
Also-
song about moving forward, moving
Also,
on,
really,
and inspiring
really
others.
take the title "By the Grace of God," which often means that you had no say in the matter. It's almost like by chance that you were able to pick yourself up and go
And go
along.
on.
So
Yeah.
that also kind of takes away, like, it does take away a little bit of the personal struggle involved, but of course there's personal struggle there, but sometimes you're a victim of circumstance.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just, hanging around people that were, more lighthearted who could drag you up. But
Yeah.
it's not always just this, personal strife thing, but the fact that she portrays that as such, coming out of the ballad, actually is pretty, it links up pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree a lot. All right, well, that's Prism by Katy Perry. Which of the actual hosts of the podcast want to start off our wrap-up? We let the guests go last. And so you two will have to fight to the death on which of Afterbirth Monkey gets to go.
Yeah, we have
Can
no rules
do
on
our-
that,
The
sorry.
whole thing in tandem.
You talk.
Are we smart?
No,
Are we that?
I
that's
actually have
synced up?
an interesting wrap up thing. If one of these lovely gentlemen don't hit it before I do,
Okay. I'll start.
Okay, good.
I'll start.
I was going to volunteer.
No. Well,
No,
I mean,
no, you already volunteered.
no, it's fine. I'm happy to wrap
We
this
need a
album up.
snare drum
I mean,
for
my
our wrap-ups.
the problem with rating pop music is this album as a whole. I like less than individual tracks on their own merits. It feels very compilation-y to me. But I like Katy Perry. I mean, I've always kind of liked Katy Perry, if for no other reason than every one of her songs gets stuck in my head. It doesn't matter. They're all catchy. I enjoy all of them. I mean, the only track I really didn't enjoy on this record was Double Rainbow. Because even Dark Horse, I hated the rap. It was awful. But the verses I still liked. There was something I could pull from it. And ultimately...
We did not give the musical content very much justice on that track. I do have an aside for that. Because we only talked about the rap.
Yeah, we're so mad.
But like... A lot of pop records for me start at a 3. They're completely boringly average. And this isn't boring by any standard. It's not average either. She's trying something a little different. But my biggest thing about how it kind of falls short from going to the higher echelon is what Mark said earlier. It feels like Katy Perry no longer has a grip on Katy Perry. She's trying to grasp at other things. Whether it was ironic or not, it's not so obviously ironic that we can completely acknowledge it. She's grabbing at so many other genres and styles, and even emulating other pop artists, that you kind of lose Katy Perry in this. The second half of the album is very distinctly her and her message and very personal. Honestly, from 8 to 13, I wanted that album. Roar could fit in that too. Roar is very personal. But a lot of the other tracks were very kind of filled with bubblegum and candy and junk. And I want a personal record. Like, one of the reasons I love Beyonce's new record so much is because it's completely 100% personal. Even though she doesn't always hit the mark on every track, it's 100% her, and it's impossible to fault somebody who does that. It's very hard to fault someone for pouring their heart out into an album. And she does it here in points, but not enough. For me, this is a solid above-average record. This is a 3.5 for me. It's not average because she does do some interesting things, but it's nowhere near a 4 or a 5 because she still lost a lot of Katy Perry in doing other stuff. And also, after hearing, what was it, Thinking of You?
Yeah.
That track is so good on her second record that I know she's capable of better. And when an artist shows me they're capable of better and then they don't get anywhere near it, that's a bummer to me.
Yeah.
She's talented. She's definitely smart. She shows that in her music videos. She's got a good sense of humor. And just a lot of her got lost in this record. A lot of it has very much succumbed to the pop industry until the tail end. So it's a 3.5 for me.
Okay, my expectations were real low. Because I knew most of the songs coming in... Well, not most. I knew a lot of the songs coming into this. But it's got a pop name, a pop label, and a pop slant. I wasn't expecting a lot. My expectations were, in fact, exceeded, but only in spurts. I mean, the entire album is just such a mishmash of ideas and stylistic choices and message. There's no real cohesive theme. It's two major setups here, and it is distinctly half one album, half another. There's no real arc to any of the actual artistic choices. It's randomized. You could throw this on shuffle and probably get a better experience because it would spread out the introspective ideas with the, over the blown, mostly sexual ideas.
I could live with that.
Yes. I might be able to live with that too, but not in the long term. Because there's a lot of songs in here I just dislike. Not even think are okay or just average, but honestly dislike. Ghost was one of them, and I hate to say that, but Ghost, Birthday, Legendary Lovers, yeah, they were. Something was being sought after here, but really missed the mark of what I would have really liked. And This Is How We Do, it's so bad. It was a trope, a solid trope.
But that was intentional.
That was
pretty
intentional.
solid on it being an intentional trope.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I really didn't like it.
Fair enough.
And it's mostly because maybe she didn't go tropey enough, or maybe there was just enough of a hint of the seriousness of what she was trying to say that I couldn't take it the full force that it maybe was going for. And that's what it is. I mean, if these ideas here being presented here are supposed to be satires or ironic or something like that, or if they're supposed to be serious, she doesn't go for one or the other. She keeps going for both in just so much of this album. Now, even the best songs, which I really think that Unconditionally is pretty solid, and Love Me, and even By the Grace of God are both extremely solid tracks. I'm still going, but the choruses are just so unimpactful. I want more verse work. And the composition of these songs is very heavily chorus work, which means I'm getting a lot of very simple, kind of standardized pop beats. It's a solid 3. Because it is very, very average. Ideas went awry, but I have to give her credit for going after some of these ideas. I think a commitment to these ideas would serve her best. Because especially some of her very early work, when she, Katie Hudson, wow, that was so much more in-depth per song, because it was just pure commitment to a solid idea. This is, even the depths are just kind of sugary depths.
Alright, I think both of you made pretty good points on this, so I'll try to say what hasn't been said. I think there are a couple of directions that she went to within this album, and I think there's a couple of things that a listener could glean from the album itself. Obviously, she's at her best when she is making some kind of statement, and I think we've identified several points in which we're pretty damn clear she's making that statement. We've seen the metaphors, we've seen the tropes that are clearly intentional and whatnot, and I think number one with that is the track in which she's imitating Kesha. And then beyond that, then there's another category in which you're just clearly looking for kind of good pop music. For me, honestly, Legendary Lovers is really, really high for that exact fact. Those three moments that we pointed out kind of comprise what the staggered reveals that I like to get in a pop song. You know, ooh, interesting thing in the intro, those triplets. Ooh, interesting thing in the chorus with those accents, that falsetto. That's still stuck in my head. I'll probably have it stuck in my head for weeks, to be honest, because it's beautiful. It's when she's at her best, when she just goes for it. And then, of course, finally the instrumentals, which for the rest of the album is sorely lacking. At least it's there in Legendary Lovers. That's easily my favorite song, just on the musical front. Not going so far as to say message or anything, but that's another category. So we got 2 categories now. And then finally the actually, I can't think of a third category. Come to think of it, those are really only the 2 things I'm looking for in a Katy Perry album. It's either music or message. So I'm going to go back to something we reviewed once back in episode 41, One Republic's Native.
They're looking incredulous. He's Rain Man when it comes to
so
our...
I know, I'm so
My
impressed with
brain
it.
is-
You've been doing it the whole show, and I'm just like...
I've told Steve that, and it's not a slight on Steve, I'm going to be excited for the day that we've made so many episodes that he can't do it. Because I'm hoping we'll hit that next level by then.
Holy shit.
But who knows?
Oh,
but
boy.
he's been doing it so far, and we're almost at 100.
We can't even remember what episode we're on over at the podcast. We're like,
And you
it's
guys do it like
episode
once a
That
month.
one?
16.
We drink a lot
2.
of beer, though.
But anyway, your point about
Beer
One
washes
Republic.
things
Okay,
out.
Yeah.
so the point about One Republic, I think,
Always
is a little bit important here, because One Republic was sort of newcomer. I mean, obviously not as big as Katy Perry, but One Republic were pretty big within a certain circle, and they also churned out fairly average pop music, and we gave that album a really, really average rating, which hovered around the 3 range. For me personally, I think I recall my rating too, which is another tantamount to Rain Man, and that was 2.9. I gave that album a 2.9 for the reason that I didn't think it quite achieved a 3, because I feel like it needed to be a little bit more well-rounded, or it needed to be more focused in one way or the other. It needed to focus on the musical front, or it needed to focus on the message front, and we were finding the messages really, really kind of wispy and weak and generic love messages, which I honestly think that this album exceeds. I think that this album goes farther. Granted, it's not uniformed, but it does go farther. There are songs where I'm actually very, very impressed by what she's trying to say, but also songs where she retreats back into safe pop generica. And then there is the music realm. I honestly think I recall the One Republic album being better produced than this. It was a little bit more intricate, although it didn't say much because we were lacking something in the message department. It's granted we might get a little bit more variety here. They had their own sound, But even that itself is another thing. I kind of am looking for a Katy Perry sound, which so far I don't really see. Like, I think I would actually have to struggle within this album to really identify her personality or her identity as an artist, which, to be blunt, it kind of diminishes her stardom a little bit, because I want to see something more unique to this major, money draw.
Yeah.
And that's, I think with that balance in the way in which I said One Republic was a little bit better in this department, a little worse in this department, I'm giving the same exact rating, 2.9.
No.
Just shy of 3.
I've followed Katy Perry for like a long time. I didn't know her before she was that initial album, but what I did learn with the movie was just that. Sorry, guys.
Oh, don't apologize.
Was just
Never
that, like,
apologize,
that
baby.
one of the really difficult things with her career has been the fact that the thing that was her, that Alanis Morissette thing that was what she grew up with and inspired her, did not make her any money. It did not make her successful. She could not break into the scene. Mm-hmm. So whenever they released that first album, with I Kissed a Girl on the album, she said specifically, she goes, this is going to be she did not let record producers choose what song she was going to put out first. Right. She said, this is the single. And everybody was all freaked out because it was kind of very like, oh, gay people, and oh, a girl kissing a girl, just being experimental, because people don't do that. Where it's all very, very black and white. And she's like, no, I'm releasing this. And it blew her up. So suddenly she pigeonholed herself into the place of having to be shock value.
Yeah.
Which is what she writes sometimes. And I think that there actually, like, listening to the way you guys talked about it, I think there actually is a structure to the album, in that, in the same way that the music videos do this thing where she comes out of Teenage Dream. And I think the first half of the album, the reason why it feels so disjointed is because it actually is a story possibly of her music that she did with Teenage Dream into the breakup with Russell, which then turned into these ballads about like, so yeah, they were pop, like for a pop album. I think the third section that you're missing is danceability, and that is one of the things that if you don't dance, you don't know it. But if you go to clubs and you dance, or if you dance in the shower and you throw a song on, the whole first half of this album had that.
Yeah.
And the songs, also, if you listen for a melody line, they are really interesting. It's not a good thing to say, because I do think lyrically she's a little too obvious sometimes. But for danceability, with the first several, for the song that you can cry to, that existed in there. Because even though the lyric is simple and not always smart, it's still, you can still relate to it, and you still get goosebumps when you hear it. I think that she'd be really well served to stop repeating her choruses like almost twice at the end of the song. The song doesn't need to be 3.5-4 minutes long. 13 tracks, and it took us like an hour to listen through the whole darn thing. It's like, cut your song down, release those choruses. Don't like. But we require, for some reason, the music industry requires that.
It's remixable. Like, to have the chorus be so repetitive, you can remix it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted.
Those really pretty piano ballads are going to have some techno beat under them, and we're all going to be getting sweaty and dancing to them at the club. And also, some of the promo material that she did for that album was her pulling off that blue wig and catching it on fire. Like, it was her saying, like, I'm stripping this off. And I think that rather than assuming that the strip happened at the very beginning, I think the strip happened in the middle, towards the end.
Which is why it becomes more personal towards the end.
Yeah.
And she talks about it. She said, like, in interviews and things that, like, there were, that final song was getting up off the bathroom floor contemplating suicide. You know, like, I don't know what the hell is so great about Russell Brand.
I definitely saw that in the lyrics. I definitely saw that exact thing in the lyrics.
Yeah.
But I just not to like fight against you, but you have all that information because you're a huge fan and you actually know this history.
Yeah.
I don't know any of that, so I could not relate that.
But I also think
it's
very
important
rarely
for him to put this in, though, in terms of him interpreting it as a discography, as a reference to previous discography, does enhance meaning sometimes.
Yeah.
So
I definitely
I think it's very appropriate for you to give a rating.
I also
to that
think
degree.
Only with the invention of Spotify and actually physically buying the antiquated CD now at this point, you never listen to it in its entirety. You never take an album and you listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
On Pandora does it. It's a mix every time, and so
we would condemn that, obviously.
Yeah, well, no,
Actually,
but do you know what I mean? I mean, I think it's important to
you
know
guys
that.
are the exception.
Absolutely, and several people do it, but I just mean in my car, whatever the radio station, Z100's not going to be like, and now Prism. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So as single
Occasionally it
stories,
is
they're
done,
fun.
but
They
very
make you
rarely.
bop around in the car, and you want to. I literally want to get blowjobs when I hear that birthday song. I'm not ashamed of that.
You shouldn't be. And so where do you put
Danceability is
this?
a very good
Where do you
third-
rate this?
third
Ooh, it's hard. If I were to say for an album that I can dance to, I'd stick it at like a 4.
Right.
If I were to say something that lyrically like keeps me thinking the entire time, because you can just kind of shut your brain off when you're hearing some of these.
Yeah.
I would put it at like a 2.
Right.
But
Remember, decimals are obviously with my 2.9. I've cleared that
But-
decimals are not off limits.
But
Joe,
where
as
would you
precise
average
as you
that
want.
out?
2.15. I don't know. Because the end gives you some, and if we're going off of 5 and only a third of the album makes you
But
think.
you have to do the whole album.
What would you give it?
I would say a 3.
Okay.
All right, a solidly average album. There we are.
Okay.
But we know you love it.
I love her.
Yeah.
yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
Okay, Chuck. Where you
Last
at?
but not
All right.
least, all things go to here.
This entire album is the story of a woman dealing with a breakup. The entire album. The track selections, in their order, are this woman dealing with losing someone. Because you feel it. It starts off with Roar. She's like, I'm free. There's not this entity anymore, this thing that I have to deal with. And then it's all like a weird, sexy party, like you're like rebounding and you're going for it, and you're like, I'm gonna buy bottle service because fuck it, I'm free. And then you hit that like that unconditionally where it's like, oh, love, no, I'm way awesome, and just like the way that this album like organizes itself, you can sort of like, I know I'm maybe grasping for straws here, maybe, but I think very, very heartily listening to this album in order is about a woman dealing with figuring out herself again after being a part of another thing for a while, something that
You're not grasping at all. I'm changing my rating. I'm a 3 now because of that. I didn't even notice that. I was thinking of these as disparate messages, and granted that was based on the meta comment, which is sort of a side message, really, as far as the main message is concerned. This is a breakup album, which, just to my One Republic point, that's a lot more unified than that album was. That was practically a compilation.
This is absolutely her breakup album.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely, without a doubt. Because it is so disjointed. She's grasping for something, some identity, and so she's trying on all of these identities to see which one fits. And by the end, she says, "I will love me, and this is me."
But isn't that is a rainbow?
And
Yeah.
A
that's,
prism makes a rainbow,
God damn
and they're
it,
all
Prism.
separate
No.
colors.
no.
This does not make double rainbow okay. No, this does not. But no, it really is about that, about a woman going through like all of the costumes that she wants to wear and figuring out like who she is again, and then getting to that point by the end. And I didn't think about that. I was like, it's like 2 completely different albums happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2 complete, and then it just clicked in my brain. I was like, it has to be that way. It kind of has to. Otherwise, like, it's so bipolar. If you started putting like a song like "Love Me" after "Birthday," it wouldn't. I don't think it would work as well.
Yeah.
Like it's the journey of a woman, and maybe this isn't what she intended, but it's the way it translates in looking at these in their order instead of putting it on shuffle. And I think it's something that's lost if you were to put this album on shuffle, obviously.
I can see that, yeah.
So I'm gonna give it a 4 because of that moment. Because of that moment going, this is a woman trying to find herself again, and struggling with it through most of it, and then finally getting there.
funny how this, between the two of you, came in with the opposite bias. Am I not mistaken?
Oh, well, I mean, the only reason that I feel that way is because it dawned on me, like...
Well, no, it's just that Mark was more of a defender than yourself, I think, originally.
But no,
And now the rating is a whole step apart. That's interesting.
Yeah, I hate Double Rainbow, though. I hate it. I think it's a terrible song. It shouldn't... If it wasn't on the album, I think I would even go higher.
That's not why we do this, but it's a nice big reveal.
I can't hear double something without thinking double penetration. I'm sorry.
Oh my God in heaven.
Of course.
By
That's
the way,
exactly
both of you will be averaged together. Your two ratings will be averaged together before you are then averaged as part of us. And I've done the math, and it actually works in your favor. You get a little bit of a curve, as opposed to you being rated separately.
Before we talk a little bit more about Afterbirth Monkey, why don't we take a break from that hefty, long album review and flip some tables and have you guys play a song about death.
Okay. I love death.
All right, let's pause and contemplate for death.
Wait.
There once was a man who lived on a train. For years he rode among us, nobody knew his name. Then one day somebody stood up and cried.
Hey, look, that homeless man shitting just fell down and died.
And the papers read, Man dies defecating, I can't help contemplating. There's no worse way to die, die-dee-die. I don't wanna die, dee-die-dee-die. Shitting on a subway train.
Where no one knows your name. Well, wait a minute. I don't know. There's probably worse ways to die than that.
I don't think so. That one's really, really awful.
Yeah? Well, what if a creepy spider with sharp little fangs were to climb on your face and bite you underneath your bangs?
Why?
And then while you were gasping for your last breath of air, the spider looked in your eyes with his creepy spider stare and was all like,
Fuck you. This is for destroying all my spider webs. I worked really hard on those. Asshole.
And the papers read,
Charles dies suffocating. I can't help contemplating. There's no worse way to die, die-dee-die. I don't wanna die, dee-die-dee-die.
being bitten by a spider.
A creepy fucking spider.
Ooh, what if you were to die of curable cancer 'cause you didn't have health insurance?
What if you were to die choking on a balloon at a children's birthday party?
And you're there and you're the entertainer and you're dressed up like a clown.
And all the children start murdering other people dressed as clowns.
With balloons!
Oh, God.
What if you were to die listening to this song 'cause a blimp crashes through the ceiling and squishes everybody? I don't wanna die! I don't wanna die! I don't wanna die! Please don't let me die! I don't wanna die! Die! I don't wanna die! Shitting on a subway train.
Being bitten by a spider.
Of curable cancer.
Choking on a balloon.
Being murdered by clown children. I don't wanna die ever.
And that was A Man Dies Defecating. Well, I'm sorry, Man Dies Defecating. By the infamous Afterbirth Monkey, who are our guests.
Yay, we are infamous.
Are we
I don't
infamous?
know.
I
We're
believe,
unfamous. That's what we are.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking, a man dies defecating, man dies...
Man.
I don't know, do you
Man
think
dies defecating.
Well, that was what the
indefinite
newspaper
article
The
really
newspaper
helps.
article that
That's-
song's based on.
Oh,
is-
it's based on
It's
the
based
song.
on an
Yeah.
actual newspaper
Yeah.
article.
Oh, you actually
There was
saw.
a man who was defecating between the cars on the subway train, and he fell to his death. And the headline said, "Man dies defecating."
And in that same day, somebody else had died,
Yep.
who was like some lawyer or something,
Everybody
and
died
his name
that
was
day.
in the paper.
Yeah, he got a name, but the man
The
between
homeless guy who
Yeah.
was
Didn't
shitting.
get a name. Oh,
Didn't get-
interesting.
That I mean, that's honestly like the depth of the song is really about like, do I want to die without somebody
Knowing
knowing
who
who
you
I am?
are.
Who I am, yeah.
Yeah.
Did I make a mark, or did the only mark I make be like the shit.
You think it's about being
That came
murdered
out
by
of your
clown
butthole.
children? No, it's
No.
about
There's a deeper meaning.
There-
in
there's
this.
always-
absolutely a deeper
there's
meaning.
always a
That
deeper
brings me
meaning.
back to the
Except
movie
for Double
with
Rainbow,
honors.
there's no deeper
Never
meaning.
Double
Anyone see the
Rainbow.
movie With Honors with Joe Pesci and Brendan Fraser from 1994?
No.
I
That's
I
an
just saw
odd combination.
It
right
is
there.
it is
Yeah,
the
right?
greatest
Joe Pesci.
combination. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's a very, very like average '90s film, but yeah, I honestly think it's probably one of the best '90s films for that exact reason because they work unsurprisingly well together.
Okay.
So my first question for you guys is the obvious one. Afterbirth Monkey. Where did the name come from?
Oh, you tell this story.
We were
I'll back
playing
you up.
an open mic night for the first time.
First ever.
We had just, we were all sparkly and new to the
We
open mic scene.
we had been doing funny internet videos together.
Mhm.
We made puppets together once.
That was
That was
like
how we
like,
bonded and became friends over
solidified
puppets.
the fact that we could sew things
Yeah,
with a sewing machine.
felt and
And we
Googly
took
eyes.
songs that we had written separately to an open mic, and suddenly we had to give our name on the list.
yeah.
And Charles was like,
I looked at you and should we be marking my real name at the time because I was going by my real name at that point, and so we were gonna be like a she and him thing,
and I was like, well, let's Afterbirth Monkey.
just make something up,
I don't know, like try it. Like pick something cute.
like
say
two
something cute.
random words,
Something cute.
something cute,
Puppy squeal.
something disgusting.
Placenta.
Placenta puppy squeal.
Say.
Wow.
Okay, I can see. Actually.
Suddenly it's
Yeah.
like
Puppy squeal.
It's like, oh, okay.
there we
Yeah.
go.
A bit
That's
of
your own.
alliteration.
That's your own
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
indie rock name.
So
That's-
on
yeah.
the
So at
Huh.
home listeners, try it yourselves.
on the yeah,
Play
do-
the
do
Afterbirth
something
Monkey
Yeah.
game.
disgusting and adorable. Just go with it.
Felching hamsters.
Hamsters.
Perfect.
Ugh, gross.
I don't even.
You know, that might have actually
God.
been how the Russian band Pussy Riot got their name.
Yeah. Well, but
No, that actually
Well,
had me.
but
Something
pussies-
cute,
yeah.
something.
Pussies
Well,
are
but then again,
beautiful.
pussy can be
Yeah.
switched around there. But yeah,
They're also a
Pussy can be
all-female
beautiful.
activist group.
But is it a
Yeah.
cat?
Yeah, well,
Are you
right,
talking about
angry.
a cat, or are you talking about a vagina?
Probably vagina.
Probably.
But anyway, we
Usually.
were called onto the stage
Yeah.
to do our set, and when we arrived, we said, "Hey, we're Afterbirth Monkey, but we don't have to be after this. We'll probably change our name. Like this is our first mic." And everyone in the open mic audience disagreed with it. And they're like, "No, keep the name."
keep it.
So if any of you who were at the Walt Astoria open mic 2 years ago, thank
Thanks.
you. We are still
Thank you
Afterbirth
very much.
Monkey.
Did
you say
Thank
the
you.
Wald-
And for
Waldorf
you guys,
Astoria?
at the
Waltz
Waltz
Astoria.
Astoria.
Oh.
It's a really
Which-
cool.
well,
It's like your
closed
first
now.
venue was
Yeah,
the
it's not
Waldorf
there
Astoria.
Yeah. No.
But and then 2 weeks later, we were playing another open mic, and this guy with a ponytail and a Hawaiian shirt
This is weird.
said, "You'll never be famous with a name like that."
You can't say Afterbirth Monkey on TV, and we're like, what? You can
God.
totally say Afterbirth on TV.
He-
It's not a curse word.
But will they?
It's not part
it's
of
a
the
thing.
7 dirty words you can't
It's
say on
not.
radio or television.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a
I
thing.
can.
Though I know of other things that have gotten changed for television.
Yeah.
So,
People, I'm kind of when you realize that we're actually just talking about an adorable monkey that's
after
like
it
just
was
been
born.
born. We're not being gross.
Yeah.
they're going to require a hyphen.
You're being gross.
Yeah.
That's
Get
really
out.
what it's about. You're
Yeah.
the sickos.
I'm saying
Yeah.
television
The
is going to require a
postnatal
hyphen
monkey.
in your name.
Postnatal monkey.
Postnatal monkey.
But it doesn't have the same ring
It's
as
newborn,
Afterbirth Monkey.
newborn
Yeah.
monkey, precisely.
Newborn monkeys.
We could have done placenta primates, but that's disgusting.
Yeah.
That is
It's
disgusting.
just possible that the powers that be within network land might actually change you to the postnatal monkeys. Just get used to it, and the off
Postnatal
chance.
monkey. That's
I
kinda,
hate it.
That's, fuck you.
Really clinical.
The man.
I don't want to be really cold and clinical.
David Letterman's on
I will take a
TV anymore,
hyphen
anyway.
over postnatal. I wouldn't mind if we were
That is
Afterbirth
hyphenated,
Monkey.
actually.
And while we're on,
well, just in the afterbirth.
and while we're on the
Hyphen.
topic of names, I
Oh.
know you as Charles Stunning. I
Yes.
also know you by your Muggle name.
Muggle name.
But I want to know how you came up with the name Charles Stunning.
Oh, I'm so excited. I love this story. So I moved to New York and I sort of stumbled onto the burlesque scene completely by happenstance. I was working in a venue called the Highline Ballroom and saw some neo-burlesque there, and it changed my entire perception of beauty and womanhood and all of that. That's a longer story to tell, but just start off with that. So I fell in love with the burlesque scene, and to be a burlesquer, generally you have to come up with an interesting, fascinating name. You know, like a lot of them are puns. Some of them reference like delicious or kitties or cherries or whatever. You know, like just very fun names. And I was a young a neophyte in the burlesque community. I was going to shows and I didn't have a name, so I wasn't really introducing myself. And I went to a show with my co-producer of Honey Badger Burlesque. Her name is Sherry Cola, not a real name, obviously. And I went to a show called Kitty Nights, which is a weekly show in New York City on the Lower East Side, produced by Femme Appeal. And I saw this show and was having a wonderful time hanging out with Sherry and meeting these lovely, wonderful people. And we went to another bar afterwards, to a little bar called Bar on A, which is not there anymore, which is really sad. Because this is where I was born. We were having a lovely time, and I, as a human being, actually cannot hold still. We were listening to Katy Perry's album, and I was just like dancing while we were just sitting there. I can't, and I started doing the Charleston, the 20s dance where you move your feet and go dun 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 dun. And my beautiful, wonderful best friend and co-producer looked at me and went, "Hey, you're Charlestoning."
That's amazing.
And I just went, "Oh my god, I'm Charles Stunning." And the next day, I'm pretty sure I piqued your thing so much because I'm so excited. And the next day, I researched the whole thing because I didn't want anyone else to like be mad that I took their name. And oddly enough, no one in the burlesque scene was named Charles Stunning, so it became mine. I was born in a bar because I couldn't hold still, and that seems oddly appropriate. Very interesting thing about that name, besides it being a play on words, which no one ever gets, I'm like the Katy Perry of burlesque names, no one gets that there are lots of levels, it's my grandfather's name.
Charles?
Charles, yes. God rest him. He's been passed for many, many, many years. I didn't even think about it when I chose the name, so it actually is a name from my family. It's really pretty, the name Charles. People get to call me Chuck now, which is really cute. But if you want to like think really hard about my name, the name Charles, it's a jumble of my Muggle name, actually.
Oh yeah, hey, I never thought of that.
Isn't that right?
Yeah, my Muggle first name and the first letter of my last name, jumble them, you'll get my name. You guys can totally figure out my name, I don't care.
Good luck.
But isn't it weird how many levels are to that name?
That's cool.
Yeah, my mom won't let me legally change my name.
I like the idea of
She's mad about
of subconscious, and that sometimes we do things that we don't
Yeah.
even realize we're doing.
And it was so like serendipitous that
serendipity, yeah.
that I couldn't hold still and decided to do a dance from the 20s in a bar after a burlesque show, and that became my name because of who I am and my past. It just was perfect.
Where the artist was born.
Now I'm going to set a premise for you guys.
Okay.
All of your songs on the album, Man Dies Defecating,
They're
the
about a
drinking
breakup.
album.
They are about a breakup.
Imagine that they're all in a fight to the death, and only one can survive, and that one's your favorite. Each of you pick a favorite song off your album.
Can I look at the album real quick? So what are our songs again? I forget.
Because I'm curious what your favorites are.
Oh, Lord.
And why it's your favorite. Because, just saying it's your favorite because it's pretty, I mean, that's a reason.
I have one.
What's your favorite, John?
I'm not going to sway them.
Oh, okay, that's true.
But
Well, they know mine.
My one also has scientific reasoning behind
So
it as well.
my favorite, while they're
Scientific.
deciding, my favorite is Nerd Him. For a really gushy romantic reason.
That one would get its ass kicked by the other song.
Yes,
Yeah,
it would,
it's a
because it's a
nerd.
nerd.
Yeah.
I have
swirly.
It'll just like fetal position.
I have a thing that I like making playlists for my fiance that are either about me or about us.
Aww.
And so on one that I made that was about me, I put that song because it covers a lot of the nerd ground about me, especially with the line Hal Jordan's ring on, because I own the movie replica of Hal Jordan's ring that fits on my middle finger.
But he is not a Battlestar fan.
That's
I haven't
okay.
seen it yet.
That's alright.
I don't
You've never
actually
seen
speak
it?
Klingon,
Nope.
guys.
Just watch,
I'm
like, the
sorry,
first two
Internet. I
seasons.
don't speak Elvish, Navi, or Klingon. I wanted to. I researched really hard to learn them, but I'm actually not smart enough.
Well, Klingon is... You can do that with Rosetta Stone now.
There's a Klingon Rosetta Stone?
I'm pretty
Can we
sure
look
there
Klingon?
is.
That's
I
incredible.
know there's an Elvish
Yeah.
Can we redrop this album completely in Klingon?
Yeah.
That would
Yes.
be amazing.
Sorry, sometimes I spitball really hard.
No, I
Some of
like
them
that.
become songs, and some of them become trash. It's cool.
So what's the verdict, guys?
Mark, you go first.
I
Okay.
I
I know
always
which one.
love singing Vampire Girlfriend.
That's
Yeah,
my
but would it-
favorite.
I love it. I absolutely
I mean, I
love
guess it would win in a fight because it is undead. So.
well, that's my
so-
science.
It's,
And she speaks of being super strong.
she's got such a beautiful voice, and I think that the song itself is just so fun.
It is
I
a fun
really
song.
It's
enjoy
just
Vampire
so
Girlfriend.
cute and silly, and it always
That and
gets
the
like
fact that it's really doing a great job making fun of like the Twilight tropes as well.
yeah.
Yeah, it's got a lot going on for it.
Yeah, well,
Why
I
can't
was
you have a
well
vampire
when
girlfriend?
I was started working on that one, I was distressed. Even though I'm a huge Buffy fan, you know, I'm always distressed at the concept of the dark male being the powerful one and
Right.
seducing
You know, like Angel and Spike, yeah.
the beauty and the innocence and blah, blah,
So you
blah.
really like Heathcliff from what you would call Wuthering Heights.
I haven't
Oh, no,
read
okay.
Wuthering Heights, sorry.
Very, very
But
dark
I
references
thought
you
about
want.
it and I was like, oh, well, duh, if you have a girl who's a vampire, no dude's going to be like, yeah, I totally want to date you, even though you could kick my ass at any moment. You know, it's just like a concept that popped into my head, which...
I'm sure that's been a trope on something or another.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it would be a trope.
Yeah, and so it's
also
just
love
me
the-
making fun of the concept of, like, all this, like, vampire, like... hard-on that
Yeah.
like, the world has
But
right
I
now.
also love the fact that like
I'm
it's like
baffled by
she's
these
still
things.
I'd
such
like
a
my
person.
vampires to
Like,
explode in the sun and eat
Yeah.
you.
That's
not
right, it's a classic
eat you
vampire.
out.
like, let's go to the movies and get a slushie.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
just love that.
it's the
You
lines
can have a
are like-
slushie. I mean, I won't have a slushie because vampires don't drink slushies. But I just,
People are essentially my slushie.
drink.
We'll
Yeah.
go for a picnic, but it's got to be at night.
It's gotta be a night.
You know,
Yeah.
set it up.
Like she's like trying to. She's
Oh,
like
you
on
guys-
OK Cupid trying to make the date work. She's
I
like,
guess
let's
you guys-
make this happen.
You're making me see
Speaking
this
of OK
movie.
Cupid, who came? Which one? Okay, country song. I love
Ho,
country
ho,
songs.
That sort of happened together.
I'm so tickled with that song
I
because
love that
I
song.
actually purchased my first sexual toy post writing that song. Like I wrote that song, I was like, "That's a really funny idea." No, I would dump someone because like my little mocha, it gets me. It gets me. It's beautiful. I love it. I'm really sorry. I'm really gross and graphic, everyone.
No, that's
Don't
My
perfect.
favorite thing
Hilarious.
about country song is sometimes like when she and I will sit down in a room and we'll just bounce sentences off of each other. And with that song, literally, we were sitting there and I was just strumming the guitar and I was like, blah blah blah. And she came at me and came at me and came at me and within 15, I swear to God, maybe
We
10
wrote-
minutes we had a song.
Yeah.
That's
Just
great.
like
The
done.
best- the
Not,
best-
never changed it, never did a thing with it.
The best writing experience we had, though, what's really ridiculous is Taco Song
Yeah.
was for me, it was the best writing experience of all because we just laughed the whole time we wrote that song. And it all started because I was walking across the street with my friend and I went, dude, if I could eat tacos forever and not get fat and die, I would. And I was like, hold on, I have to text my bandmate real quick. And then I put it on my phone, I was like, we have to write a song about only wanting to eat tacos. And we got together and we wrote that song. And I don't think we've ever laughed harder writing a song.
For
than
anybody
writing
that would
one.
say why comedy music, because we get that sentence a lot. Why are you guys doing comedy music? It is for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed on your website, Taco Song was one of the two songs you made, I guess, an official
An official
video
music
for.
video, yeah.
Who
And that
made-
spans
okay, I
the
gotta
whole
ask.
United States. That's California,
Yeah.
all the way to New York.
I have
Yeah.
to ask because I did notice something that you mentioned earlier. Which one of you made the puppet?
Oh, we both made puppets.
We both made
No.
puppets.
Which one made the puppet that was used?
The Schaefer
Oh,
the Dark Lord puppet?
the Dark
Yeah.
Lord puppet? That was
That was
Nelson
not us.
Lugo.
That was Nelson. Nelson
Yeah,
made
Nelson-
the shape for the puppet.
Nelson commissioned that puppet
Commission.
as part of a surprise for Schaefer while they were producing Epic Wind Burlesque together.
It's extraordinary,
It's
isn't
a
it?
beautiful
Yes.
puppet. I
Yeah.
love that puppet.
It's great.
I love
Well,
that
actually,
part.
the funny thing about the
That puppet
slight
stares at us when we do the
shall be
podcast.
made.
It's weird.
My favorite thing about the Shape of the Dark Lord puppet is the idea that it has its own personality and it has its own Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's hysterical, and that Schaefer will get into an argument with the puppet on the puppet's Facebook page.
I do that with the puppet I made with him because my puppet, Trevor the douchebag alien, has a Twitter page. He's not as popular as Schaefer the puppet, obviously, and he probably does a lot more coke than Schaefer the puppet, but he is a burlesquer like me, so that's
Obviously.
cool. We do a burlesque number together, which is fun.
That's amazing.
But the song that I think would straight up boom murder all the other songs on this album would be If I Had a Time Machine.
Yeah.
It would absolutely decimate all the rest of them. It is so smart and so stupid at the same time.
It's probably some of the funniest lines you got.
I'm sorry, we went abortion.
Abortion.
Then again, you did have
That's what you did with the die.
Yeah.
Apparently you like that wordplay.
you had a full verse for the vibrator.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's true.
There was
Yeah.
The vibrator
The
is
vibrator
working.
sings.
It's getting the job done.
It's
Getting that job
that's
done.
the most perfect love song on the album, the country song.
If I had a time
It's-
machine, people.
that's what love
we get
really
a lot
feels
of really
like.
good feedback from that song. I feel like.
Yeah.
Is that the next video? Or are you going to do something for the new album?
We're actually
Well,
in talks. Fingers crossed, everyone.
Yeah, talks.
about It's Raining Dicks.
Yeah.
being
Oh,
the
with Save
next
the
It's
Raining
release.
Raining Dicks
Yeah.
is probably going to come next.
We're talking to a friend of ours who is a filmographer, and he really wants to do that one with us.
That's the one you have with Schaefer.
Yeah,
With
that's the
Schaefer,
Schaefer
yeah.
one. Yeah.
I cried
So
whenever
I
we
mean,
finalized that track.
yeah. but then you misspelled his name on our album. I'm again, if you're listening to this shit
Wait.
for the Dark Lord, I'm sorry that
No, I didn't.
your
There's
name.
no-
there's
there's
a
no-
C. It's SCHAFFER.
Yep. That's how
The
his
Dark
name is
Lord.
spelled.
It's spelled
I
right.
just-
It's spelled right on Spotify. I told you this already.
But how did
I'm
it
not-
happen? Because on Spotify.
Yeah, on Spotify it's right. On here it's not. But again, Schaefer the Dark Lord. Sorry, your name's misspelled.
Oh, I hate
But every time
that.
you rap about that in the opener, I'm like we did on our album.
Yeah.
We're
Asshole.
dicks.
Yeah.
I like to pretend we're on that album.
You know that guy who told you the thing about, you won't be able to be on TV with that
I'm
name?
so mad.
Yeah.
I spell my own name wrong.
I will
You
say this.
spell your wrong all the time, and I almost break up with you over it
It's
every
true.
single time.
I will say this. In the 80s, it might have been said to you, you'll be limited to cable. Even that's not really true anymore.
No,
So.
we'll be on
There are
HBO
no
and
closed
But
I'll
that's
doors.
we
sell
do
it.
try to write the bubblegum songs in there. Like, I don't know that maybe
Mm-hmm. I
not.
don't think any of these songs are bubblegum.
Come on, Vampire Girlfriend is really simple. There's not a single
but
bad
it's-
thing in there.
Yeah,
Even with minimal changes, something like Dumb Girls with Big Boobs could make it on TV.
yeah.
It can make it on TV.
Yeah, I mean, you just skip titty fuck and then you're fine.
Yeah, Meryl Streep is from
But
the
that's
future.
what I mean,
would
like,
definitely
I
make
never
it on
wanted
Meryl
TV.
to skip
Streep
the
is
titty
like
back.
Meryl Streep was that was like the bubblegum.
Yeah, that'll
for me,
make it.
'cause there's
Taco
nothing-
Song will make it.
Yeah.
We actually Meryl Streep. We got through. I guess we can say it now. We got through to the second round of America's Got Talent with the Meryl Streep song. I don't know why they like that song so much.
They did.
I
I mean,
love that
it's-
song. I love Meryl Streep.
I mean, it's interesting and
her daughters are
it's
friends with us on Facebook. because of
Not
that song.
really offensive.
Yeah.
You
not
know,
offensive,
it's not
it's
super
silly.
sexually charged or anything. So
Well, I was just saying that she would be a normal
Yeah.
person in the future.
She'd be normal.
yeah, she'd be like relatively talentless
Yeah.
in the future because everyone would be
There's
so
a lot of
evolved and
talent.
talented.
Yeah. It's
There's
true.
definitely bubblegum moments. You know what you do? You release a version with track-long bleeps. That's it.
That was
That would
exactly
be-
that was what we thought we would do.
Yeah.
Actually, fans would love that.
With America's Got Talent, what I had posed the question. I was like, why don't you let us do a song like Something That Ruins It All and just bleep out the whole thing for TV?
'Cause you got
That's what I
bleep.
want.
It's
nitty
bleep.
Oh, my
Your bleep
bleep's
so
so
small it looks like a
Bleep.
pimple on the top of your bleep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you'd just be standing there smiling. It was so
Exactly,
pleasant.
yes.
Well, you know, I mean,
I
Kanye
think
West
we get
does it
some-
all the time. Like his
Kanye's
live
West.
performances. Yeah, I'm going there. Don't be mad. But his live performances, he subtracts his own curse words. You know, he just doesn't sing them.
Kanye and Kim got married recently, guys.
I don't
Sure.
care.
Nobody
Don't care.
cares.
Nobody
Don't care
cares.
about that.
I'm
I
all
will listen
too
to
aware
Monster
of that,
every day,
unfortunately.
but I don't care about
Far
their
too
marriage.
aware. I heard about the details of their wedding. It's exhausting. I
I
only
don't
know that
really
because of an
know
SNL sketch.
It's really funny.
The next
Yeah.
thing I wanted to ask you guys about was, I know that you mentioned off the air that you are actually working on a new record.
We
Yeah.
are.
So I would love to know a little bit more about that, considering how much I'm in love with your first record.
Oh,
Yay.
this one is going to be much shorter.
Yeah.
What are we at? 6 tracks? 5 tracks?
No, there's about I think it's 7
7.
with other things dispersed in between.
Yeah,
Like in the same way that we've got very short little snippets,
Snippets
in
here.
here.
Okay.
We've
It's
we've
kind
conceived
of
it-
a little conceptual.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it is
absolutely
conceptual
is. Like,
because it's an entire storyline.
so it's like
Through the CD.
we took 'Twas the Night Before Christmas.
Oh, shh.
We shouldn't give too much.
No, let's not give too much away.
All right.
No,
Well,
let-
we're gonna get dibs, right?
We ran across a plot thread.
Uh-oh. All right,
We're-
should we tell them?
So
No.
I don't mean.
I don't mean for our listeners. I mean us.
Yeah,
personally.
like you can tell us.
Okay, yeah.
But don't tell the
no,
listeners.
but-
I will do that if you promise to put just a bleep over everything we say about.
yeah. Can you just...
Wait. we gotta
Clearly,
look
with
to
our
Steve.
listenership, you will probably be
'cause
giving away
I don't want to
your
give too much
entire...
away to the general
Yeah.
public.
Okay.
But also, like, that's why I didn't want to leak our
So,
t-shirt design.
so after the podcast, you can tell me.
Duh.
Our millions
But-
of
Yeah.
listeners.
But what
will
I do
ruin
want to
it.
know about the new album is, so it's a concept album. So, where did did you guys both come up with the idea for the concept? Did you just kind of fall into it?
Well, what kind of happened was we were writing songs that sort of fit into a theme. We just looked at them and were like, oh, well, hey,
Our initial concept was going to be called Hungover.
hungover.
Right.
Because it was after the
After the
drinking
movie,
game.
and
Right.
we wake up and...
And essentially, the songs are very present. Like they are, like every one of even these silly songs here, they're all about aspects of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And this
is...
is probably as stripped as you're gonna get about us.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay.
Oh, as much as Afterbirth Monkey can be stripped and
Yeah.
emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you guys have an idea of when you want it out by? I know that you
think
didn't have a hard
we kind
date.
of want it...
I want to run through the
late-
box of our first album first. The box of CDs that we have. from the
Late
first
fall,
album.
maybe early winter.
Yeah, we're
maybe.
close.
I mean, we're really close.
Our stack is like there's like
we
that
can
much
kind
left in there.
of... This man works so fast at things. Like,
Yeah.
I'm always like kind of dragging my heels when it comes to stuff. I'm like, oh, we're gonna... And then suddenly he'll be like, so I wrote this entire song. Listen to it. What? You wrote the whole song? I thought we were gonna write it together. And like he'll just write it, and then we'll like work it. And he's a genius. I am so lucky to have this man as my bandmate.
No,
Good man.
never. And at most, but
So
honestly, like probably 90% of anything that gets written comes out of a text message that we have written to
Yeah,
each other.
somewhere
and
it's like,
said
hey, I have this idea. What if
this.
That's
we
why I
ate
like.
pancakes with Jesus on the moon? Like something like that. Like something really ridiculous.
That is one thing I'll say about modern technology that I really like with music is the idea that you can write down an idea immediately. Like I know that I have friends who are in an Irish band, and they like if they hear something that they want to cover, they immediately like say the song title into their phone, or if they get an idea for like an original riff, they play it a little bit into their phone speaker and then record it and move on, so they don't forget it. And it's just awesome that you can do that, because if you had an idea like that on a train, even like a decade ago, by the time you got home, you might have forgotten it, and that was it. Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technology is definitely
You're
like
drunk
a
in a
crutch,
bar.
and thank God an excellent crutch for like modern generations that might have their brains might not work the same and might otherwise
Definitely
never
not.
have become artists.
Nobody's
because
gonna remember-
can't take it down.
Nobody's gonna remember phone numbers in the future.
But
Nobody.
It also,
I remember phone numbers now.
I
You were
remember
born
Which is
my
weird
high
because I have a
school
terrible
number.
memory.
yeah.
Like even having gone to college for music and whatnot, and knowing music notation, I will never be able to notate something as fast as the idea is coming to my head. So I'll always bank on recordings first.
Yeah.
Notation is later once you have it like set out and you're ready to like form it together. But in terms of just getting that idea out, thank God for the record button.
Yeah.
If you go through my phone and like the record, like the recording, like the voice memos, they're all just bits and pieces of a song or something that came into my head. Just
Yeah.
walking down the street and not wanting to forget it.
That's awesome.
I always have a notebook on my person so I
Yeah.
can like write down things as they occur to me. But with the onset of text messaging, I just pull out my phone and I go, I'm texting you this thing. Is there anything recently that we like sent?
The new song for
Oh.
we're gonna be doing a.
Oh, or do
Can
we
we
want
talk about that?
Wait, is there going to be a section where we promote stuff that we're doing?
You can
Yes.
do that right now. Go for
Oh,
it.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Promote stuff right
cool.
now.
All
So
right.
We've got the variety show on Sunday, every other Sunday-ish, but it's with a really
Yeah.
also great Christina Cataldo. She has Kitty Glitter Cabaret.
Yeah.
And they're
She
really
does it
fun.
for
If you guys are artists and you want to be on the show, send your stuff to afterbirthmonkey@gmail.com and we'll absolutely get you on.
Yeah, like we had Nelson do Human Blockhead not too
Oh, it was
long ago.
amazing.
Yeah.
I love when he does human blockhead.
Oh,
That's how I first
so
met him,
intense.
with a nail in his nose.
Yeah.
at the Quidditch World Cup. I met him in Chrissy Cocktail.
Super
Yeah.
handsome.
And Adam, the real
With
man.
it, with the nail on his face.
We're doing Kitty Nights in July.
Oh, cool.
Oh, what day are we doing that? Do you want to grab my
Yeah,
planner?
it's like
I keep a paper planner for real. I don't put any events into my phone, and it's because it forgot a birthday once, and I never forgave it.
we're also doing the BT Gay show.
Yeah. Oh, hold on.
Sorry,
I'm gonna
sorry.
go.
I have
Hey.
not seen one of those since
Hey.
college.
Yeah.
And even
Oh,
then, they
sure.
weren't often used, so I
Hey.
want to go back
Isn't
to high
that
school
beautiful?
here.
I love that thing.
On June 14th, which is a Saturday, we are going to perform 3 songs for the Brooklyn Smallest Penis Pageant.
I'm so excited.
We're so stoked. We booked this doing a private show.
You're also you look so mortified.
I would want to know who enters said contest.
Go on VogueMagazine.com and you can see all of the contestants last year in their formal wear.
Yeah.
Wow.
Boom. So
That's-
it's kind of a big deal.
That's awesome.
Kind of
On
not big.
June the 15th, which is the day after that, we play Kitty Nights again. Femme Appeal show that happens at... And oh my god, I didn't realize those are happening like one after
Because
the
she
other.
said yesterday about July. I think we might have gotten those 2 swapped.
Oh, maybe.
But let's
well,
ask
no,
her.
this is definitely happening.
Either way, definitely go see Kitty
definitely
Nights
go-
on the 15th.
Yeah,
We may be
yeah,
there.
it'll-
It's still
we
a
might
really
be there.
killer
Just
show.
show up.
Femme Appeal's
Go.
amazing.
9 p.m. in White Bar, Lower East Side. Then, on the 16th, we are opening for the BTK bands, the formerly broken up, reunited. I don't know if they're staying reunited forever, but we knew they'd reunite. But sorry your band died for a minute, Peter. The BT Gay Show, which is a gay pride show. It's storytelling with improvised music. It's phenomenal, and we're opening that 8 p.m. at the Crane Theater in New York City.
That's awesome.
I think that's...
Peter Guerrero, who is a future guest, I'm hoping. I would like to
Oh
have
my
him on.
god, he's so magic.
He's a host, storyteller, and comedian, and I've seen him host a bunch of burlesque shows, and he's a really great personality. Who also has a puppet of himself.
Word September 23rd.
Well, that's like a million
it's
years
really
in
far
the
away.
future. Yeah.
Don't worry, Crash Course would be happy to promote any events coming up if you send them to me.
Absolutely.
Ooh. On July 16th, I will be doing Nasty Canasta's Naked Girls reading. I'm going to read sci-fi in the buff.
Awesome. Excellent.
I just want to share that with people because I am going to be naked. It's going to be fun.
Nude.
Nude.
And before we get to the end of the podcast, I wanted to ask, will you guys perform one of the new songs from the album for us?
We will
Shall we do
gladly
that at
do
the end?
that.
Yeah, we'll do that at the
That'll be
end.
Maybe we'll do that at the end.
Yeah.
No,
I
that's
think
what
we're
I'm
doing
saying.
that at the end.
Thank you for asking. We would love to do one of the unreleased songs.
Which new song would you like to perform for us?
It is called Took Your
Your
Boyfriend.
Boyfriend.
Excellent. But before we get to that, Steve, would you like to go over our spam email for the week?
I would. This post gives clear idea in support of the new visitors of blogging that genuinely how to do blogging.
You actually... I couldn't even pronounce it that well, because one of the words you said was of is just a
I recalled that it was actually using that symbol that makes a rectangle, and it used that to make the O. You know the text symbol that makes
Yeah,
the
yeah,
vertical
yeah.
you can
rectangle?
use, you can use
Yeah.
two brackets.
That
back
was
to back to
actually
make
used.
it
Oh, do you
something
think they were
real.
trying to emoji and then it didn't pop up?
I
not part
don't
of any
give
emoji I
spam
know.
too much credit.
Yeah, but sometimes, well, I mean, if you're like
Can you
crossing
spam?
formats.
You think
And
the
If they
bots
did it in like
Yeah.
a format, like in
Emoji?
like a creation,
Yeah,
like
'cause
if
I
you
know
did it
when-
like with Google.
I know when
Google
people
Drive.
tweet emojis, they show up as question marks in my phone.
Maybe they were
Gmail
using
to
wingdings.
Squirrel mail to AOL.
Maybe.
To
I hope
you,
they weren't using
Wingdings.
wingdings.
Comcast. Those all-
wingdings.
Crazy ass
Wingdings.
motherfucker.
Who invented
Who
wingdings?
writes in wingdings?
Anyway, this spam was from Psycat,
I do.
and his email was actually Bonnie Deacon, real name.
Wow.
That's weird. We don't get real names a lot. Usually it's like Air Jordans, Fire Red.
Oh,
I miss Jordan's.
and
Yeah, they've been not happy.
they don't like us anymore. And John, what album are we doing next week? It's your
We
pick?
are doing Swans,
Oh,
Is
boy.
the band.
the band. Let me finish. Gonna wax eloquence. A noise rock post punk that just so happens I think Steve knows.
I know them, and I jokingly pushed him into doing it, and I didn't actually expect him to do it. So I know
I heard 30
Swans
seconds.
like
I heard
from
30
20 years
seconds.
ago.
I heard 30 seconds of a song, and a smile was on my face. It sounds very. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
I forget whether it was Swans or Sun, but one of these is actually the song one track in one of those bands I used to test exactly how loud my stereo would go in college, and it could be heard several dorm buildings away.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited. The album is called To Be Kind.
Okay, and this is a new record.
This
right?
is like
Weeks old.
days old.
Oh,
at
days
this
old.
point.
Cool. And then also, I would love for you guys to do our sign off once you're done performing your track. So now here is Took Your Boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
1 time, 2 times, we destroyed the room. 3, 4, the hinges broken from the door. 5, 6, there's so much we can't fix. 7, 8, the room's in quite a state. 9, 10, the shit hits the fan. Pay no attention to the bruises on my knees. We know you've got a lot of questions, hold your tongue, there is no need. For we'll tell you a story that you'll not soon forget, of what's been going on and why your sheets are wet. He may have sprained his finger, and we may have stubbed our toe. We never wanted to get busted, but now we guess that you should know. We took your boyfriend, we took him really hard. We took him in the foyer, then we took him in the yard. Oh, 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 we took your boyfriend. Oh, 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 we do it all again. We took him on the table, gave him rug burns on the floor, tossed his salad in the kitchen while we called him a whore. He may have pulled a muscle, and we may have strained our necks. Of the countless nuts that we busted, we liked your man's the best. We took your boyfriend, we took him really hard. We took him in the closet, then we took him in the yard. Oh, 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 we took your boyfriend. Oh, 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 we do it all again. You keep all the problems in sickness and health, while you do all the boring stuff, we get all the filth. You may think we're trashy, in this we do agree,
Because your boyfriend likes it nasty.
and there's cum all over me.
Let's face it.
We fucked your boyfriend, we fucked him really good. We fucked him in the shower, then we fucked him on the hood of your car. Oh, 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 we fucked your boyfriend. Oh, 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 we do it all again. Make some noise. 1 time, 2 times, we destroyed the room. 3, 4, the hinges broken from the door. 5, 6, there's so much we can't fix. 7, 8, the room's in quiet state. 9, 10, we do it all again. And remember, music is life and life is good.